Chapter 214. On Sunday morning beside Weishui Lake, Lu Qing stood with his legs apart and his eyes closed. His body seemed to be moving up and down along with the water. The wind around him was very light, mixed with the coolness and dampness of the rainstorm in the middle of the night. Everything seemed so peaceful and quiet. At this moment Lu Qing put his left foot inward, bounced his back and punched out his right fist like a club. Bang! He punched the air and the quiet wind suddenly exploded and whimpered, rippling out in circles. Compared to before, they were stained with a bone-piercing chill, condensing a sparkling light, covering the wet ground within a 1-meter radius with a thin layer of silver frost. The further away it was, the less traces there were. This dreamy scene that violated the season paused for 3 seconds before disappearing. Lu Qing opened his eyes and saw it, but he couldn't believe it. Was this the power of his mutated version of severe warning? Although he could only punch once without deep sleep, but even an 8th Pindan stage fighter couldn't take a punch, right? After nearly a week of hard work, continuous improvement and difficult copying, he finally completed the fusion of Thundercloud and Ice Seal, which could be considered as a new visualization method of falling sun ice and thunder. And the changes of the corresponding muscles, fascia and internal organs of his body had also been tempered into the beginner's door. In other words, his simplified version of severe warning of physical invulnerability was basically mastered. But the biggest problem was that he wasn't skilled enough and flexible enough. It's 2 beats slower than Frost Force, but as long as I can seize the opportunity to hit Zhou Jingquan, things will be simple. Lu Qing thought happily. Although severe warning didn't need to connect 2 visualization methods and was simplified into a martial art with only 1 visualization diagram, it was still a low-level version of physical invulnerability. After all, he had just learned it and still needed some time to prepare. He could only use it through excellent improvisation and anticipated traps to create opportunities to use it. This would be something out of Zhou Jingquan's expectation, so he definitely wouldn't be prepared. As for the specific power of severe warning, Lu Qing couldn't accurately judge because he hadn't experienced it in actual combat. Thinking of the initial mastery of the unique skill, the competition in the afternoon, and the fierce battle with an 8th pin expert, he was excited and expectant. He took a breath and eagerly said to Geezer Sher beside him, "Master, I'm going for a run." After an hour of deep sleep in the afternoon, everything would be ready. All that was left was to begin. "Go ahead." Geezer Sher waved his hand impatiently. After Lu Qing had left in high spirits, he sighed with a smile and shook his head. So young. At around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Yanjika packed up her things and changed into a white martial arts suit with black edges. She was a little nervous and excited at the same time. At this moment, Li Liantong turned off the computer and said in a clear and urgent voice, "Ku, wait for me. Let's go together." "You're going there so early?" Yanjika knew that her roommate was going to watch the competition and cheer for the martial arts club, but she didn't expect that she would leave so early. Li Liantong had specially changed into a short-sleeved t-shirt, jeans and sneakers. She pointed at herself and said with a smile, "I feel that I have fallen in love with the atmosphere of the martial arts competition. Don't you think this outfit suits you?" The feeling of everyone working together for one thing, the atmosphere where they could vent to their heart's content without caring about the gazes of others, and the passion of shouting and singing for victory filled him with nostalgia and love. Over there, she could do something different from the usual Li Liantong. "It's okay. In fact, wearing the same martial arts suit makes me feel more involved." Yanjika answered the question seriously first, and then looked at her roommate from head to toe. She teased, "Dirty Tong, are you bewitched? I remember that you didn't like martial arts very much in the beginning. Isn't your love for filth and corruption?" "People change." Li Liantong said seriously, "I'm such a quiet and sunny girl, so I need a little masculine hobby to balance, neutralize it." Zhong Yinru had turned her head when they were talking. At this moment she snorted and said, "Dirty Tong, you're becoming more and more suspicious." "What do you mean by suspicious?" "Look, I've already prepared a small trumpet and an inflatable hammer." Li Liantong pulled out her weapons. Yanjika pursed her lips and smiled, posing like a famous detective. "You're even more suspicious." That's right. "Dirty Tong, you weren't so enthusiastic about the martial arts competition before." Shi Xiangyang leaned over the bed and smiled ambiguously. "Did you fall in love with a guy who practices martial arts?" Li Liantong looked at her 3 roommates with an aggrieved expression. "Am I such a person in your eyes?" "Yes." Yanjika, Zhong Yenru and Shi Xiangyang answered in unison. "I've really fallen in love with martial arts competitions. Haven't I been watching your preliminaries all this time?" I was moved by Lin K and your Cheng's performance, and attracted by the atmosphere during the competition. Believe me, I've almost become a die-hard fan of your martial arts club. Li Liantong said her thoughts in a joking tone. Yan Zhika stopped teasing her and said with a faint smile, "Welcome." It felt good to have someone supporting her, especially a familiar roommate. At this moment, Li Liantong's eyes turned, and she forgot about her seriousness. She smiled and said, "You're in a favorable position and you've taken Ching away. We're all good roommates so we won't fight among ourselves. So, does Lin K have a girlfriend?" "Wow. I knew you were up to no good." Zhong Yanru laughed out loud. Shi Xiangyang also rubbed her cheeks and said, "I was saying that the dirty Tong just now was so unfamiliar. This is your real face." Favorable position. It always feels weird when it comes out of dirty Tong's mouth. Fortunately, they don't know that Lin K is my brother. Yan Zhika thought and smiled. Dirty Tong, don't think about it. Lin K's character is not suitable for ordinary people. Speaking of this, she suddenly sighed. As a sister, who wouldn't want her brother to be happier and happier? But Li Liantong didn't care. She raised the inflatable hammer and said, "Do I look like an ordinary person?" After joking around, she called out to Zhong Yanru and Shi Xiangyang seriously, "Ru Cabbage, let's go together. Let's cheer for the martial arts club." In the female dormitory of the Academy of Arts, Wu Qian finished her makeup and asked her roommates, "Is anyone going to watch the competition? I still have something to do. I don't want to get out of bed, so I won't watch you guys show off your affection." Two of the girls immediately said that they wouldn't go. They were only interested in watching the martial arts club's competition at the beginning. Another quiet girl wearing large framed glasses hurriedly packed her things and said, "Wu Qian, I want to go." "Yanxi, you want to go?" Wu Qian had expected the answer. She felt that the most likely person to not go today was her roommate, Fan Yanxi, who was a quiet artist. Fan Yanxi nodded seriously and said, "Yeah, I like watching the martial arts club's competition." Wu Qian looked at her in confusion and didn't ask more. She smiled slightly and said, "Then hurry up, I'll wait for you." "Okay." Fan Yanxi nodded heavily. She was going to cheer for the martial arts club today. Yan Xiaoling was lying on the bed as usual. She quickly opened the live video website. At the same time, she was also looking at the information she collected and provided by the unparalleled Dragon King. Every time she flooded the forum, she would make fun of herself and say that it was okay if she didn't understand and that she just had to be a love-struck fool. But in fact, she was a very serious and hard-working girl. She had been cramming martial arts knowledge to catch up with her friends. She couldn't always make fun of herself to maintain her position as a moderator. She had to cheer for Lu Cheng and the Songqing University Martial Arts Club later. In the Songqing University Martial Arts Club, Xu Rui sat in the reporter's seat. She looked at the interview prompts on her phone notebook and sighed in distress. She felt a headache when she thought of interviewing Lin K again today. Her phone screen lit up and showed a few lines of words. Lin K, martial arts fanatic. If he wins, he can talk and direct the questions to the details of the competition. If he loses, then... Xu Rui's thoughts were wandering. Suddenly she felt the noisy stands become quiet. Instinctively she looked at the gate and saw Zhou Jingquan walking in first. He was wearing a black traditional Chinese costume with red patterns. His temperament was gentle and his manners were calm. The few spectators were stunned. Behind Zhou Jingquan, Houyu Zhui Yanjun, Li Xingnan and the others walked in one after another. On the 19th of May, 2:46 p.m., the Donglin Battle Squad arrived. The last match of the top 8 in Songqing Division. Chapter 215. Under everyone's gaze, the Donglin squad calmly crossed the field and walked to the locker room of the away team. When they passed by the reporters, Zhou Jingquan glanced at Xu Rui and nodded with a smile. "Hello, reporter Xu." During the group matches, the Donglin battle team often visited Songqing. He had seen this reporter who left a deep impression on him a few times. Xu Rui remembered the rule of not interviewing fighters before the competition. She stood up and said, "Hello, good luck." After a short greeting, Zhou Jingquan didn't look sideways. He straightened his back and walked forward without swaying. When they were far away from the reporters, Houyu excitedly approached his senior brother and asked in a low voice, "Senior brother Zhou, why don't you talk to reporter Xu for a while?" As an 18-year-old teenager who couldn't stay still, he loved to gossip about things other than martial arts, games and girls. Xu Rui, whom he had met several times, and Yan Zhika, whom he had watched in the competition videos, were often mentioned in his discussions with his senior brothers and junior brothers. Now that he saw them in person, he couldn't help but tease them. Interviews before the competition will affect one's mood. Zhou Jingquan answered calmly. That's true. Hou nodded and then winked. Senior brother Zhou, do you want to ask for her phone number or QQ or WeChat later? Zhou Jingquan chuckled. Not at all. Asking for a girl's contact information will ruin my image. Little monkey, can't you concentrate on the competition? Li Xingnan, who had sharp ears, scolded Hou at this time. Hou quietly stuck out his tongue and answered with a cheeky smile, Got it. I'm very focused during the competition. It hasn't started yet, right? In the reporters' seats, Xu Rui watched their backs disappear at the locker room door. She shook her head and sneered, Show off, I've seen all kinds of men. When Lu Qing, Yan Zhika, and the others arrived at the martial arts arena, there were not many spectators. But the students they met on the way recognized him as soon as they saw his clothes and temperament. Even if they didn't recognize him, they would know that he was Lu Qing, the leading member of the martial arts club, after seeing Yan Zhika beside him. Come on, our entire dormitory is here to cheer for you guys. A cheerful boy clenched his fist and waved. Lu Qing, you can do it. Although a girl was so shy that her voice was trembling, she still mustered up the courage to shout out. Lu Qing didn't expect to receive such a warm reception. For a moment he didn't know how to react. He could only smile, nod, and wave with a stiff expression. Yan Zhika curled her lips and held back her laughter. She pretended that she didn't know this guy and walked forward calmly. When they were almost at the door of the changing room, she laughed softly and said, Does it feel good to be a star? Lu Qing rubbed his stiff cheek muscles and said with a wry smile, I finally understand a word, flattered. This was the support of the students. This was both motivation and pressure. Filled with emotions, he pushed open the door of the locker room and let Yan Zhika enter first, followed by him. Clang. The bustling atmosphere was isolated from the outside world. At 3 o'clock sharp, all the participants of the preliminaries had arrived. Geezer sure drank a mouthful of wine and wiped his mouth. He looked around and said with a smile, Little Yen, this time you'll be the one to say the words. Me again? Yan Zhika was both angry and amused. Who was the coach? Smacked the table. Hearing their conversation, everyone, including Lu Qing, couldn't help but laugh out loud. The tension that had been brewing before the match suddenly dissipated a lot. Even Lin Ke showed his emotions at that moment in a small arc that ordinary people couldn't detect. Yan Zhika rolled her eyes at her boyfriend and pursed her lips. Based on Wenxing School's previous behavior and the fact that they won the first round, we can believe that they will adopt a safe strategy. They won't ask for credit, but they won't make any mistakes. I'll say it. Anyway, I've often discussed this with Cheng before. As for the specific in-depth analysis of thinking, she didn't describe it so as not to confuse everyone. That is to say, they will still let Zhou Jingquan fight second instead of taking the risk of sending an 8th pin dan stage fighter first or last. If Zhou Jingquan is the first to enter the arena, it's very likely that the situation with Fearless Squad will repeat itself if he encounters Lin Ke and Lu Qing in that order. He will be defeated by Lu Qing, who has insane stamina. If he is the last to enter the arena, he will be worried that we will use Lu Qing as the vanguard. The premise of all this was that they didn't know that Qing could also be tired. And judging from the details of the last match and the feedback afterwards, no one except for herself had realized this. Isn't it the same as when they fight first? Sun Jian raised his hand and asked. Yan Zhika shook her head like a coach. More or less the same, but the details will be adjusted. I think they will put Hou last. Why? Li Mao and Guqing asked in unison. Wenxing School knows that Hou's supernatural ability can't be hidden from us, so they can't let him be a surprise attack. His fighting style are very suitable for last. Think about it. If Lu Qing and Lin Ke were in the same order, as long as Zhou Jingquan didn't have a big problem, Lin Ke, who was facing Hou, would definitely consume a lot of energy and show a decrease in strength, even if it wouldn't be as tiring as the last round. Then he would be restrained by the opponent who is good at monkey form. Moreover, his supernatural ability is special. Even if he takes precautions and raises his vigilance, he will still be easily affected when his body functions decline. If we let Lin Ke fight first, no matter if his opponent is Zhui Yanjun or Li Xingnan, he will consume a lot of energy and reduce the pressure on Zhou Jingquan. At that time, under the full power of the Dan stage, even if he can't defeat Lu Qing, there is a high chance that he will be injured. The Fly Fall Punch's waterfall is somewhat similar to Tremor Punch. Lu Qing's physical strength is abnormal, but it doesn't mean he is invincible. Once he is affected, it will be very difficult for him to face Hou who is jumping around. Sun Jian understood Yanjika's meaning and thought it was very reasonable. But another question arose. Since Hou is so suitable for the last match, why didn't the Donglin squad arrange him like this before? First, to use his supernatural ability as a surprise attack. Second, Hou's fighting style is very taxing on his body. We only mentioned Lu Cheng and Lin Ke before, but we didn't mention you, Senior Sun Jian. Yanjika smiled slightly. When Hou defeats them, he will consume a lot of energy. He may not be able to beat you and may lose 2, 3. So they fought for victory in the last match, and this match is for stability. After saying that, she glanced around and remembered that she was shy. She blushed slightly and said, I'm done analyzing. The order of the martial arts club's appearance must be arranged by Coach Shi. Next to her, Lu Cheng took the opportunity to consider the pros and cons of his appearance first or later. If he appeared first, he would encounter Zhou Jingquan in his best condition. With his experience and strength, he might not find a chance to use severe warning. It could only be said that without the consumption of Hou's supernatural ability, he would definitely perform better than he did in the Donglin squad, and there was hope that he could force out his opponent's continuous outbursts. If he fought later, Zhou Jingquan would be weakened in all aspects after the fierce battle with Lin Ke, and Meng Qi was quite confident that he would be able to create an opportunity to use severe warning. However, the problem was that severe warning was currently a great burden to him. After defeating Zhou Jingquan, he still had to continue fighting Hou. Therefore, unlike when he fought first, he didn't need to consider a way to retreat, didn't need to be overcautious, and didn't need to hold back. He could go all out to fight Zhou Jingquan and find a good opportunity to use severe warning. Comparing the two, it was better for him to appear first. While his thoughts were running wild, Lu Cheng didn't make the most beneficial choice for himself because he had considered another problem. This match had to be won by 3, one to have a chance to make a comeback. In other words, the one who appeared later couldn't lose. If he couldn't afford to lose, he would have to bear the pressure of winning. If he lost, considering Lin Ke's self-esteem and desire to win, and the fact that he could say sorry in the last match, it would be a great blow to him and make him full of guilt. Normal people would be upset and feel pain for a while, let alone Lin Ke who was a bit mentally ill. I can't put pressure on him and aggravate his problem. This was not because he sympathized with Lin Ke but because he wanted to protect him. It was not only for the sake of Yanjika, but also because they were the two pillars of the martial arts club. After fighting side by side for so many matches, they had long developed a sense of camaraderie with each other. As one of the leading fighters, as a man, this was the time to use his shoulders. I'll bear the pressure. Lu Cheng exhaled and said before Shi could say anything, Coach, I want to be the second to appear. Everyone's eyes immediately focused on his face. Some were puzzled, some were surprised, some were biting their lips, and some were shaking with ice. This was a rare volunteer. Lin Ke pursed his lips and stepped forward. He looked straight at Shi and said, Coach, I want to be the second to appear. Lu Cheng had expected this. While complaining about his brother-in-law's strong self-esteem, he explained calmly, I've been practicing a killer move recently. It's suitable for Zhou Jingquan's condition to decline. Shi laughed. Everyone is very enthusiastic. I know that Lu Cheng has mastered a killer move. He'll be the second to appear. Lin Ke tilted his head, took a deep look at Lu Cheng and nodded his head ever so slightly. He didn't say anything else and retreated to the corner. The order is Lin Ke, Lu Cheng and Sun Jian. Let's make the final adjustments quickly. Shi said casually. Yanjika was so smart that she had already guessed her boyfriend's thoughts. She pulled him to another corner, showed her dimples and said in a low voice, Thank you. Do we still need to say thank you between us? Lu Cheng made a joke that could evoke memories. Yanjika rolled her eyes and said with a smile in her eyes, I'm saying it for my brother. Your brother doesn't need to say thank you, unless he doesn't treat me as his teammate. Lu Cheng said seriously, but he felt it was too serious so he laughed and said, unless he doesn't treat me as his brother-in-law. Yanjika looked at this guy who was getting more and more shameless. She wanted to pinch him, but when she thought of his upcoming match, she held back her restless hand and snorted. Hearing the girl's coquettish anger, Lu Cheng felt happy. He closed his eyes and planned to rest. Looking at his action, Yanjika's eyes moved and her expression became gentle. She leaned close to his ear and said in a low voice, Cheng, you're so nice. This is the right way for a girlfriend to thank her boyfriend. Lu Cheng immediately smiled, but he didn't open his eyes. He just held Yanjika's slender hand and drew strength from it to better adjust his state. This was both pressure and motivation. In the away team locker room, the leader of Wenxing School and I Mingfei looked around at all the disciples and stopped Hou, who was running around in the room. In this match we need to be steady first. Yu Chuan is the second to fight so he can attack or retreat. And I Mingfei said concisely, they must be on guard against your supernatural ability. You're the last to fight so you have to win. Yanjun, you're the vanguard. No matter if you meet Lin Ke or Lu Cheng, just remember one thing. Don't be afraid and play your normal level. Do you understand? Understood. Hou Yu and Zhui Yanjun answered in unison, while Zhou Jingquan took out his black martial arts suit from his junior brother's backpack and carried it to the bathroom. At 3:27 in the live broadcast room of Songqing TV station, Fang Juexiao suddenly felt refreshed and said to the guest beside him, Gan Lu, they're coming out, both sides are coming out. In the background of the broadcast, the sound of small loudspeakers was heard all over the stadium. According to the list and order of appearance they had just received, the first match was clear. Lin Ke versus Zhui Yanjun. Chapter 216. In the stands, Li Liantong was still a little reserved and restrained. However, when she saw Lu Cheng, Lin Ke, and the others walking out of the home team's locker room one after another and heard the sound of the loudspeakers around her, the passion hidden in the depths of her heart was ignited. She raised her hands high, waved them back and forth, and shouted rhythmically with the audience nearby, Songqing University, Songqing University. Songqing University, go for it. Zhong Yinru and Shi Xiangyang saw their roommate's selfless performance and were stunned for a moment. They couldn't believe that this was the dirty Tong they knew. Whether she was quiet on the outside or dirty on the inside, she was very different from her current self. However, when the announcer started to read the names of the main force and substitutes of Songqing University Martial Arts Club, Li Liantong and the other audience members responded in an echo-like manner. They also felt that something was stirring in their hearts, and they were eager to vent something. They wanted to be part of this crazy but intoxicating atmosphere. Unconsciously they also shouted. Because of their different personalities and habits, they were not as crazy as Li Liantong and still retained some reserve. But they also turned their voices into drops of water in the waves. Lin Ke, Lu Cheng, Wu Qian and Zhang Jingye followed Kai Zhongming and the others and shouted. Fan Yanxi held the loudspeaker and blew to her heart's content. Under her quiet appearance was a red face and passionate eyes. In such a tsunami of shouts, the referee stepped into the arena. He looked at both sides and made the final confirmation. He took a breath and let his voice penetrate the noise without the help of the loudspeaker, resounding in every corner of the stadium. Songqing University Martial Arts Club vs Donglin Squad in the quarterfinals of Songqing Division. Round 1. Lin Ke vs Zhui Yanjun. Lin Ke suddenly stood up. He didn't directly walk to the arena. Instead, he walked past Li Mao and Yan Zhika and came in front of Lu Cheng, stretching out his right hand. Lu Cheng was stunned at first, then he smiled and reached out his hand to Lin Ke for a high five. Go for it. Lin Ke nodded slightly, turned around and stepped into the arena. Zhui Yanjun was already standing there, as straight as a tree. She closed her eyes and rejoiced that she was still in the world of martial arts and could still step into the arena. The enemy on the other side was not easy to deal with. Last time, when he was exhausted, he had given himself a fright. Now that they had met again, he believed that everyone was certain that he would win. It was just a matter of how much energy he had expended. But I don't think so. I've also trained step by step to become a strong professional 9th pin fighter. There's a gap between me and a Dan stage fighter, but it's not so big that I can't make up for it. Just because there's little hope doesn't mean there's none. This wasn't Zhui Yanjun being blindly arrogant. Rather, she believed that when encountering a strong enemy, holding on to the idea of going all out was a better way to accomplish the predetermined goal than having the mentality of seeking stability and attrition. Even if he wanted to settle for the next best thing, there had to be room for retreat. If he didn't use winning as his motivation, how could he take a step back and seek to wear down his opponent? Just as Zhui Yanjun was about to sort out her thoughts, the referee raised his right hand and solemnly said, 3 minutes. Zhui Yanjun knew that Lin Ke was a taciturn person who wouldn't even fart after being hit with a stick. She didn't want to waste her breath, so she simply closed her eyes and considered her thoughts for the last time. In the live broadcast room of Songqing TV station, Fang Juexiao chuckled. With Lin Ke as the representative, Songqing University Martial Arts Club doesn't seem to have any martial artists who are good at talking. It's hard to interpret the interesting verbal battle in the broadcast. A large part of the reason why he was able to become the host of Songqing TV station's martial arts competition step by step was that he was multi-talented and could even read lips. Ganlu smiled and shook his head. Don't you see what kind of background they have? If they were good at cursing, they would have been dealt with by the school. They're college students, so their quality is definitely higher. Old Gan, you've been out of the normal society for too long. If you have time, you should go online more often. Nowadays, some college students are better at cursing than you. And I only said they're good at talking, not cursing. Debate is also one of them. Fang Juexiao tried to liven up the atmosphere while Lin Ke and Zhu Yanjun were stunned. As for the analysis of the outcome of this match, they had already discussed it before. Their views were quite consistent. Both sides had a chance and it all depended on how they performed on the spot. While Fang Juexiao and Gan Lu were discussing verbal skills, Kai Zoming looked at Lin Ke on the stage and felt the enthusiasm around him. Once again he yearned for it. If I were standing there, I would definitely be as handsome as him. I wouldn't waste these 3 minutes. On the stage, the referee looked at the electronic clock and silently counted a few times. Once again he raised his right hand and shouted in a clear voice, "Begin." The sound of the announcement still echoed. Suddenly, a series of thunderous sounds came from Lin Ke's body. It was like the buzz of a motorcycle rushing out, or the exhaust of a car before it started. It made Zhu Yanjun suddenly think of a sentence recorded in the secret book of Fly Fall Punch. The wind is blowing before the storm. The wind is blowing before the storm. This was a sign that Lin Ke's muscles, bones, fascia and internal organs were accumulating strength. This was a sign that he had broken through the limits of his physique refining. This indicated that he was only 20 or 30 days away from the dance stage. As the sound echoed, Lin Ke suddenly rushed out like a meteor. In an instant he closed the distance of more than 6 meters between the two. His momentum was fierce and his power was astonishing. Although Zhu Yanjun had the idea of gambling on the outcome of the match and wanted to attack from the start, she still didn't dare to fight head-on with Lin Ke, whose momentum had climbed to the peak in an instant. However, she also couldn't retreat. In this kind of confrontation, if she dodged, her opponent's momentum would be like a rainbow. He would continuously press forward and put her at a complete disadvantage. If she wanted to turn the situation around, she would have to gamble, according to the plan. It would take twice the effort for half the effort. As her thoughts turned, she, who had rich experience in the arena, slid to the left. It looked like she wanted to avoid the frontal attack and attack her opponent from the side. As soon as she moved, Lin Ke's center of gravity swayed. His body strangely changed directions at high speed without any sense of difficulty. Seeing that her opponent's right arm muscles had already swelled, Zhu Yanjun's spine sprung up dramatically. Her back muscles swelled and she forcibly pulled her body back. She wasn't trying to dodge but to wear down Lin Ke's momentum. She shifted her center of gravity, and her feet fiercely pushed inward. Her right hand, which had been pressed diagonally to the left side of her waist, pulled out with the sound of breaking bricks. It was as if a sword had rushed out of its box and turned into a waterfall. It illuminated the entire room and its edge was enough to kill. Black water sword technique, sword drawing breaks water. This move was created by the founder of Wuxia School after comprehending the secret art of the water sect. He traveled to Japan at that time to challenge the masters of the way of the sword. He combined the local sword drawing technique with his own swordsmanship, taking the strengths of both and discarding the weaknesses of both. Zhu Yanjun used a special technique to turn her waist and back. Driving her right arm, she quickly, fiercely chopped her palm blade from the bottom to the top toward Lin Ke's side. It was a bit earth-shattering. I didn't come here to wear you out, but to win. I will use all my strength and not hold anything back. Lin Ke's body suddenly stopped. He withdrew his momentum and then released it. His left hand clenched into a fist and exploded the air with the force of a hammer. He fiercely hit Zhu Yanjun's long sword within a very small range. Bam! Lin Ke's left arm involuntarily bounced away from the force of sword drawing breaks water. Zhu Yanjun's body swayed and her right hand followed. At that moment she stepped back, not to dissipate the force but to borrow it. With a crack, she fiercely pounced forward. Straightening her back, she raised her left arm high. Splitting Huashan Mountain alone. She knew that Lin Ke's tremor punch was different from Lu Cheng's. It was faster and faster, so she couldn't give him the slightest gap. In the previous exchange, Lin Ke had borrowed a bit of force from the yin-yang twist. Following the rebound of his left arm, he had already turned his body. At that moment, his right hand went up and firmly blocked the chop. Bam! Zhu Yanjun's palm blade had just chopped Lin Kei's arm when her arm muscles strangely swelled and pushed up her martial arts suit. She had completed the long-awaited double force. Using this force, her left palm was like a blade. She was going to cut down and use the Yin force to severely injure the muscles, fascia, and blood vessels under Lin Kei's skin. This way he would need at least a month to recover. Black water sword technique's killing move, Yin-Yang double wave. The chop was Yang and the cut was Yin. The Yang force injured the bones and the Yin force attacked the flesh. At this critical moment, Lin Kei's face suddenly flushed red. His temples suddenly swelled and the muscles of his right arm followed suit. Bursting with strength, he counteracted Zhu Yanjun's Yin force. The veins on the back of his hand bulged as if they had doubled in size. After the swelling, Lin Kei first pulled his arm back and then bounced out, shaking off Zhu Yanjun's palm blade. Then he put strength in his waist and back, pouncing forward and switching from defense to offense. Zhu Yanjun didn't have time to adjust herself, so she could only continuously retreat. She saw Lin Kei coming closer and closer. His temples were swollen, and his left arm was about to deliver a fierce punch. She clenched her teeth and imitated Hou. When Lin Kei swung his fist, she suddenly squatted down and put her left hand behind her back. At that moment, Lin Kei's body trembled. His left fist suddenly swung back and using his back as a fulcrum, he bounced out with his right leg. Bam! His right foot was taut and his kick split the air. Zhu Yanjun hurriedly raised her left hand to her side, blocking Lin Kei's kick while her center of gravity was unstable. Bam! Her body swayed but she didn't control it. She pushed the boat along the current to the right. Lin Kei's chi and blood all over his body abruptly shrank into a ball, and then suddenly erupted. Boom! His strength surging, Lin Kei crushed the black bricks under his feet and pounced forward. He rushed to Zhu Yanjun's side before she could regain her balance. His temples swelled and he quickly swung his arm, blasting out a meteor energy. Zhu Yanjun didn't have time to dodge. She took a short breath and barely managed to raise her arms to block in front of her. Bam! She only felt like she had been hit by a bomb. Every bone in her body was shaking, and even her muscles and fascia were trembling. Coupled with her unstable center of gravity, she directly fell on her back. She had no time or ability to wriggle her abdominal muscles to make a ha-ha sound in order to counteract the shock. Lin Kei moved forward. His right hand didn't attack. Instead, he grabbed her arm and lifted her up. At that moment, the referee loudly announced, "First round, Lin Kei wins." Chapter 217. The referee's announcement was met with cheers and honking horns. Winning at the start was always a joyous thing. Hearing Lin Kei again and again, Lu Qing couldn't help but whisper in Yanjika's ear, almost dance stage, how enviable. Indeed, if he and brother-in-law were in different positions and encountered Zhu Yanjun's drawing sword and breaking water style, it would be impossible for him to unify all the strength in his body as one, stop as he wished, and hammer down to block in time. Faced with this extremely fast and ruthless move, he would most likely only be able to take advantage of the situation and throw himself to the side, hastily dodging. Then he would fall into the opponent's follow-up moves, and with the slightest bit of carelessness, he could possibly capsize unexpectedly. This was like the ninth pin of the dark sect who was tricked by the supernatural ability of fire, and in the blink of an eye he was hit by a chain of attacks and died on the spot. At that time he was inferior to the enemy in all aspects of martial arts. Similarly, when Lu Qing resolved the second wave of Yin and Yang, he couldn't do it at the moment. He had to understand the meaning of withdraw, and train his strength to be both hard and soft, to be able to release it incorporeal. Of course, this didn't mean that he had no way to deal with the second wave of Yin and Yang. If he grasped it well, he could use the swing force to resolve it. Yanjika's face was full of joy, and her lips curved into a smile. After hearing Lu Qing's sigh, she lowered her voice and joked, "This is your little goal." Little goal? Lu Qing smelled the girl's fragrance and smiled slightly. Reaching the physical invulnerability stage in 1 year was still too far away and didn't feel real. But it wouldn't be long before he could train martial arts into his body and reach the peak of his current state. Then he would be qualified to explore the meaning of withdrawing and unifying his strength. They were real, right in front of him, and he could reach out and touch them. Thinking that he could reach this level in the next step really made him excited. Using Zhao Chang's catchphrase, it was exciting. This is my little goal for the second half of the year. In the away team seats, Zhou Jingquan flicked his black martial arts suit and took large strides towards the arena like an immortal. When he met Zhu Yanjun, he nodded slightly and said, "Better than I expected." He was tactfully praising Zhu Yanjun for fighting well. If Lin Ke hadn't reached the Dan stage, it would have been hard to say who would win. Zhu Yanjun held back her feelings and urged, "Hurry up and get on the stage. Don't give him time to recover." In the previous round, Lin Ke had tried his best to end the battle quickly, so he had used up a lot of energy. Zhou Jingquan nodded with a smile. His body didn't sway as he exerted force with his feet and strode into the ring, standing opposite of Lin Quebec. At this moment, the audience's cheers were getting louder and louder. A large portion of them knew that the biggest hurdle had come. The referee became spirited and swung his right hand. He did not give the two sides a chance to adjust. Begin. Lin Ke's muscles and bones crackled as he rushed toward Zhou Jingquan at lightning speed. It seemed that he wanted to repeat the story from before, using the offensive to gain the upper hand, and relying on the fierce battle of life and death to kill the strong enemy. When enemies meet on a narrow path, the courageous one wins. This was what it looked like, but in reality, Zhou Jingquan did not feel any tingling sensation from being attacked. A strong fighter of the Dan stage had absolute reaction. However, Zhou Jingquan did not dare to be careless, because he suspected that Lin Ke had mastered the ability of concealment after absolute reaction. In other words, he relied on the contraction of his qi and blood to hide his intention to attack until the moment he actually made a move. If that was the case, under certain circumstances, even with absolute reaction, he might not be able to block it in time. Zhou Jingquan retreated a few steps. His movements were as calm as flowing water, and his movements were extremely natural and at ease. Lin Ke, on the other hand, released his momentum like a rainbow soaring into the sky. The strength under his feet burst forth, and his body turned into a meteor, upright and mighty. At this moment, Zhou Jingquan seemed to have an illusion that he could not block the attack head-on. He understood that his momentum was being suppressed by his opponent, to the point that ripples appeared in his soul. This kind of situation could easily cause a misjudgment. He smiled slightly and stopped as he said. He bent his legs, shook his waist and back and clenched his right hand into a fist and hammered down with a whistle. This was not a swing but a twisting movement of his waist and back. He twisted the strength of his body into one, and released an attack that was only slightly weaker than force concentration. Bam! Not only did the airflow explode, but it was also compressed by the fist, turning into an invisible arrow that flew straight towards Lin Ke's face. Lin Ke only felt a strong wind in his face, and he almost could not open his eyes. His momentum was stagnant, but his state of mind was firm, and he did not waver in the slightest. He narrowed his eyes and using the momentum of the forward pounce, he straightened his back and quickly swung his arms. He did not back down and threw a forward punch. As for the follow-up, he was already prepared. Once he met Zhou Jingquan's downward punch, he would immediately use yin-yang twist to quickly release meteor force, and then imitate the explosion of the Dan stage to complete a two-hit combo. Victory would be decided in a few moves. Bam! As soon as the two fists collided, Zhou Jingquan's qi, blood, and spirit suddenly converged. His arms immediately became soft, making Lin Ke feel as if he had hit empty air. The powerful attack just now had turned invisible. His blood flowed back and his strength gathered. His lower abdomen seemed to have condensed into a Dan. Boom! The human body Big Dan exploded and a mighty force gushed out. Zhou Jingquan's right fist, which had been bounced away by his opponent because of its softness, suddenly returned and took the initiative to meet Lin Ke's yin-yang twist. This force was so strong that when Lin Ke borrowed it, his body immediately trembled and involuntarily pulled back. He was pulled back 2 steps by the invisible rope. Zhou Jingquan took a big step forward and came in front of his opponent. In his mind, he visualized a rising stream of water, combined with the contraction and condensation of his qi, blood, and strength once again. Double explosion. Fly-fall punch, waterfall. Lin Ke's entire body's strength was as one. Within 2 steps he had already adjusted his center of gravity, but his opponent had already caught up. He raised his right fist high and hammered down like a waterfall. There was no time to dodge or retreat. He took a deep breath and condensed his blood, breath, and strength into a ball. Immediately after, the ball exploded and a gale swept through. Lin Ke's temples swelled and his face flushed red. Compressing his muscles and swinging his arms quickly, Lin Ke was not afraid and blasted the meteor force diagonally upwards. Bang! There seemed to be thunder in the place and the sound reverberated outwards. Zhou Jingquan and Lin Ke's fists seemed to be frozen in the air, and their bodies shook together, their muscles clearly trembling. Zhou Jingquan didn't make a sound. He gathered his chi and blood again and held the Dan, condensing the feeling of vibration, strength, and spirit into one point. In his mind, the flood was surging, filling the lake and finally breaking the dam. Bang! That point suddenly exploded, and the strength was like a flood breaking the dam, pouring into Zhou Jingxuan's body. As he quickly turned his back, the strength poured into his left arm. Fly fall punch, dam break. Dan stage triple explosion. Bang! Zhou Jingxuan's left fist became a hammer and fiercely hammered out, constantly exploding the airflow along the way. From the beginning, he had learned a lesson from the last fight against Lu Cheng. No longer overcautious, he directly used all his strength without any reservation. This would definitely consume a lot of his physical strength, but at least he wouldn't enter the next round with the influence of Tremor Punch. If he was overcautious and kept thinking about the fight with Lu Cheng, not only would he not be able to reduce the consumption of physical strength, but he would also be left with the vibration, which would be more difficult. Lin Ke was not a real Dan stage fighter, so naturally he couldn't burst out continuously. His eyes were firm and his expression was fearless while his body was still trembling. He once again swelled his temples, tightened his muscles, and twisted his waist to punch like a meteor. Bang! The two collided and the majestic force surged. Lin Ke couldn't stand steadily anymore. He forced himself to use yin-yang twist to bounce back, so as not to break his arm and suffer internal injuries. But Zhou Jingquan didn't suffer any shock as he had expected it. He caught up with his opponent in a few steps. Before his opponent could adjust his center of gravity, Zhou Jingxuan's shoulder exploded, and his right arm shook, stopping his fist at Lin Ke's throat. Until then Lin Ke's feet barely touched the ground. The power of triple explosion could really defeat all the fighters below professional 8th pin. The referee raised his right hand and shouted emotionlessly, "Second round, Zhou Jingquan wins." Lu Cheng took a deep breath and directly stood up from his seat. To be honest, he didn't expect Zhou Jingquan to burst out with triple explosion at the beginning of the match. He thought they would be entangled for a long time. But this is good. Although brother-in-law didn't let Zhou Jingquan be affected by the vibration, at least I don't have to worry about his strongest killing move. He reached out his hand and shook Yanzhika's hand. He stepped forward and walked to the arena. The audience was silent at first and then burst into screaming, "Lu Cheng!" Chapter 218. In the live broadcast room of Songqing TV station, the host Fang Juexiao shook his head and smiled. This match ended faster than I expected. Gan, hurry up and tell us what happened. Ganlu smiled and said. Ganlu chuckled and replied, "There's nothing to say. Zhou Jingxuan's Dan stage triple explosion, when he is in perfect condition, can kill a professional 8th pin fighter head-on. Lin Ke has just defeated a strong professional 9th pin fighter and consumed a lot of energy. This is the exact opposite of last week's fight. At that time, Zhou Jingquan had defeated Lu Cheng, while Lin Ke was in his peak condition. Therefore today's result is reasonable. The only surprise is that Zhou Jingquan didn't hold back at all from the beginning, as if he didn't consider the next round. Lin Ke should be proud. Zhou Jingquan is treating him as an opponent of the same level. There's no need to be depressed. After all, he forced Zhou Jingquan to use triple explosion of Dan stage, right? Lu Cheng doesn't have to worry about this in the next round. Fang Juexiao heard the director's prompt and interrupted in time. Well, Lu Cheng is on the arena. The third round is about to start. Let's wait and see. Yan Xiaoling, who was watching the match broadcast and chatting on the forum, suddenly sat up straight and adjusted her posture, staring at the screen with bright eyes. Lu Cheng. Lu Cheng. Echoing in every corner of the martial arts arena, Lin Ke walked down the arena with a slight stagger. The head-on collision just now made his chi and blood boil, and he couldn't calm down for a while. When he met Lu Cheng, he slightly lowered his head and gasped, almost, "Not good enough. Even though Zhou Jingquan had used Dan stage triple explosion, I should be able to do even better. That's enough." Lu Cheng interrupted him and took the initiative to stretch out his right hand. Lin Ke hesitated for a moment and responded. Not only did he give a high five, but he also gave a strong handshake. At the same time he whispered, "Come on." Lu Cheng nodded, adjusted his state and strode to the stone steps. Next he had to find and create an opportunity to give Zhou Jingquan a severe warning. Of course this was a killing move that could only be used once. If he wanted to complete the severe warning, he could only use the Frost Force once or the Tremor Punch 3 or 4 times before that. At this moment, Zhou Jingquan was doing breathing in and out methodically. His abdomen expanded and contracted, and his throat made a humming sound. Seeing Lu Qing on the arena and standing in front of him, the referee didn't stop. He raised his right hand and swung it down fiercely. Begin. From the last match and the daily practice with Lin Ke, Lu Qing was sure that the fake moves completed by visualization could not be hidden from the real absolute reaction. Therefore he didn't try. He straightened his knees, moved his hips and strode towards Zhou Jingquan. He didn't pounce straight away. Instead, he gathered his strength step by step and adjusted the corresponding parts of his body. He tightened and bulged different muscles and was ready to use severe warning. If Zhou Jingquan felt that his posture was too good and couldn't help but attack with full strength, he would fall into his trap. But if he didn't fall for it, it was just a part of his body that hadn't entered the visualization stage, so it wouldn't consume much energy. This was Lu Cheng's first attempt. It seemed to be a regular attack, but it was full of hidden killing intent. Thump, thump, thump. Lu Cheng's steps became heavier and heavier. The green bricks under his feet began to crack. His body seemed to be taller with the support of momentum. He looked down at Zhou Jingquan. When he turned his waist and extended his right arm, Zhou Jingquan, who had been quietly waiting, moved. His center of gravity swayed, his feet slipped, and he flashed to his side. He shook his right shoulder and let his arms slanted out like an oar. Bam! Lu Qing knew that the trap was not complete, so he gave up visualization and didn't use the severe warning in case he missed. He quickly adjusted his body. His waist tightened, his thighs tightened, and he completed a side kick. It was fast, accurate, and fierce. Zhou Jingquan's shoulders sank, and he swung his center of gravity again. Like a ghost, he changed his position and came to Lu Cheng's right side. He tightened his arms and bent his waist again. He drew the airflow like an iron whip and whipped to Lu Cheng's head. Sure enough, he was fighting with the mercurial center of gravity. If he had used the severe warning recklessly, he would have suffered a great loss. Lu Cheng thought. He suddenly lowered his waist and bent his legs. He clenched his fist and swung it upward as if he was moving or blocking. Bang! With a muffled sound, Lu Cheng swung his right arm and borrowed strength. When he was about to use the 24 blizzard strikes to whip Zhou Jingquan, he found that Zhou Jingquan's center of gravity swayed and changed his direction again. This caused an irreversible interruption of his roaring gale, making it difficult for him to fight more fiercely and crazily. Zhou Jingquan flashed to Lu Cheng's back. He outlined his abdominal muscles and affected the fascia. He shot out his left arm and hit Lu Cheng's spine with a bang. This move was fast and compact. It was the continuation of fly-fall punch. Lu Cheng swung his waist and back. He swung his elbow sideways. The air burst and made a crisp sound. After the fist and elbow hit, Zhou Jingquan's back muscles bulged. He rushed his right hand and made another move without leaving any gap. Bang, 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 bang. They kept colliding in the small space. Lu Cheng resisted Zhou Jingquan's continuous attacks with the 24 blizzard strikes that he couldn't continue. Although he was not in a precarious situation due to the experience of the last fight, in such a situation, not to mention preparing severe warning, he did not even have the chance to use frost force and tremor punch. Lu Cheng seized the opportunity. After blocking Zhou Jingquan's crushing punch with his raised arm, he suddenly turned his waist and back. He opened all his muscles and joints and sent out a violent swing force. He wanted to use the same trick he had used the last time. He wanted to use the swing force to create a short time for him to tighten and compress his muscles to throw the tremor punch. Once Zhou Jingquan's body was shaken, he would have to stop it with a hum or a force concentration. That would be his chance to give his enemy a severe warning. However, Zhou Jingquan didn't force the swing this time. He flew to the side, which made Lu Cheng's tremor punch lose its target. He bent and straightened his leg and his strength burst out, shattering the bricks. His body pounced out, chasing after his prey like a goshawk. He adjusted his muscles and once again prepared for the prelude to the severe warning. Bang, bang, bang. Every step he took was a piece of black brick, and his momentum was extremely fierce. Zhou Jingquan, on the other hand, seemed to have eyes on the back of his head. He kept retreating like flowing water and moving clouds. From time to time he would change his direction with mercurial balance, like a butterfly dancing on the field. One chased and the other retreated. They almost went around the field, but the distance between them didn't change. At this time, Lu Cheng's body couldn't maintain the corresponding changes of the severe warning. He could only let go of his preparation and let his momentum weaken. It was because of this weakness that Zhou Jingquan's legs suddenly stopped. All of the kinetic energy was accumulated in his muscles and fascia. Crack. The bricks under his feet cracked. In his mind, he visualized a rising water flow and a fierce waterfall hitting the ground. Taking advantage of Lu Cheng's momentary change in chi, he pulled back his arm and threw out a punch like a bolt of lightning. Like a bomb bombardment, he launched a mighty blow. Fly fall punch waterfall. Lu Cheng forced himself to take a deep breath, and the image of a thunder cloud appeared in his mind. The corresponding muscles tightened quickly, and he raised his left foot, twisted his waist, and smashed out with his right arm as if he was holding a huge hammer. Bang! The thunder clouds exploded in Lu Cheng's mind. His two fists froze in the air. Circles of invisible ripples rippled out rapidly. Both of them felt that their muscles and fascia were trembling, their internal organs were shaking, and their breath and blood were boiling. They couldn't exert force for a short time. His abdominal muscles wriggled along with his internal organs. Lu Cheng's body produced a thunderous sound, which echoed Zhou Jingxuan's throat. Both of them made a reverse vibration with their inner practice at the same time. They offset most of the effects and recovered at the same time. Zhou Jingquan swayed his center of gravity again and launched the fly-fall punch continuation. Once Lu Cheng borrowed 2 or 3 times, he would change the rhythm skillfully and make his opponent unable to follow up. I can't be led by the nose. After fighting for a while, Lu Cheng decided to take the initiative to create an opportunity to launch the severe warning. When Zhou Jingquan once again circled behind him with his mercurial balance, he suddenly exerted his strength, flicked his waist and back and pounced forward. It seemed that he was trying to distance himself from Zhou Jingquan and get rid of the fly-fall punch. Thump thump thump. Lu Cheng listened to the footsteps behind him and began to adjust his muscles and fascia. Once his opponent approached him, he would immediately launch a counterattack. Crack. He stepped on the ground and broke the black bricks. He turned around and was about to pounce on his opponent while visualizing the falling sun-ice thunder to launch a well-prepared attack. However, when he turned around, he was stunned. Zhou Jingquan kept a good distance from him so that he couldn't follow up with another attack. Otherwise, his opponent would have plenty of time to dodge. Zhou Jingquan found Lu Cheng was stunned. He smiled and crooked his finger like a cat playing with a mouse. This was a naked provocation and contempt, which made the audience and Yan Shaoling, who was watching the live broadcast, so angry that their chests almost exploded. Damn it. Lu Cheng's anger rose in his heart, but he soon calmed down because of Ho Yu's example. He caught the key point in a flash. Zhou Jingquan was deliberately provoking him. Why did he do that? Did he want me to take the initiative to attack and take the initiative to try? As this thought flashed through his mind, Lu Cheng immediately came to a realization. Why would I painstakingly create an opportunity to use severe warning? As long as he waited patiently, this opportunity would definitely appear. Because in Zhou Jingxuan's eyes, my physical strength was so abnormal that it was almost limitless. But he had just completed the dance stage triple explosion in the battle with Lin Ke, so his body was declining in all aspects. If he continued to suppress me with continuous, he was afraid that before I showed any flaws, he would be exhausted and even lose the ability to burst out his full strength once or twice. Therefore, his continuous attacks just now were just to provoke me so that I would find an opportunity to take the initiative to counterattack. Once I failed 3 times in a row and reached a low point, it would be time for him to erupt with all his strength and try to win. He was a little anxious before and thought that he had mastered the killer move, so he almost made a mistake. Facing Zhou Jingxuan's provocation, Lu Cheng put on a stable stance and waved to his opponent. Come on. Let's compete in physical strength. Chapter 219. Of course, Zhou Jingquan was not stupid enough to compete with Lu Cheng in terms of physical strength. This was the truth that the previous martyrs had proved with their own honor and disgrace. He was not that stubborn to confirm it himself. Sometimes people had to believe in evil. At first, he was sensitive enough to notice that Lu Cheng was trying to end the fight quickly, so he planned to weaken his opponent's momentum bit by bit. When the time was right, he would immediately burst out and win with all his strength. Now that he saw Lu Cheng calm down and assume a steady defense, his heart skipped a beat. He knew that his plan A was completely ruined and could no longer be realized. He could only try the plan B prepared before the fight. So, my image will be ruined. Zhou Jingquan arched his back and dashed forward like a bolt of lightning. When he was close to Lu Cheng, he swayed his center of gravity and slid to Lu Cheng's side as if he was treading on water. He twisted his waist and shoulder, twisted his whole body's strength, and punched his right arm diagonally. He performed the surge of fly-fall punch. Bam! Lu Cheng's right arm tightened and swung sideways. Like an iron whip, it exploded the air. Even if it was a stone in front of him, it could be smashed into pieces. Bang. In the muffled sound, Lu Cheng's body swayed a bit, while Zhou Jingquan moved away and repeated the pattern just now. Bam 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 bam. They kept fighting and separating. Fly-fall punches continuous, and 24 blizzard strikes showed their strengths. Everything was like a reenactment of the previous story. However, Lu Cheng, who had calmed down, was very clear that the essence was different. The one who was looking for an opportunity impatiently was not himself but Zhou Jingquan. He patiently defended and assumed a posture to compete with physical strength consumption. At the same time, he was ready to face Zhou Jingquan's full outbreak. At the climax of the battle, Zhou Jingquan gradually gained the upper hand in this kind of close-range fight where he couldn't use his feet to exert force. Lu Cheng was firmly suppressed, and Lu Cheng cooperated with this process, waiting for changes to appear. Bam! After Zhou Jingquan's low kick failed, he hit Lu Cheng's arm with a single whip. Lu Cheng lowered his center of gravity and suddenly turned his waist and back. His joints and muscles were all opened, and again a strong swing force was released. He knew that Zhou Jingquan would not let go of this opportunity. Zhou Jingquan's upper body swayed to the side. Just as he was about to be flung away, his qi and blood suddenly flowed back and gathered in his dantian, making him as steady as Mount Tai, not moving an inch. Amazing. Compared to exerting strength in both feet, borrowing the force to swing back, who knew how much more brilliant it was? Lu Cheng praised in his mind. But he had already seized the short time to compress the corresponding muscles and fascia of his arms and visualize rolling thunderclouds. Then he suddenly pushed his left foot inwards, straightened his back and clasped his hands together. In a manner that could split mountains and rocks, he slammed it diagonally from the top right to the bottom left. Mountain-shattering quake. Kacha, a spider web appeared at his feet. In Zhou Jingquan's mind, there was the image of a waterfall pouring down from a towering mountain, the torrent violently crashing against the ground, and the spray of water splashing into the air. The condensed point in his dantian exploded with a bang. All of the power converged into one and gushed out fiercely, causing his arm to draw into a bow and his fist to turn into a hammer. Bah! Zhou Jingquan's whole body seemed to expand. He shot out his right fist in a condescending manner, penetrating through layers of air. Fly-fall punch, waterfall. Bang! A muffled thunder sounded in the arena, shaking the cheers of the audience to a halt. Invisible ripples turned into a gust of wind, blowing in all directions from the place where Lu Cheng and Zhou Jingquan clashed. Lu Cheng's body jumped a little, his ears were ringing, his eyes were dizzy, and his qi and blood were tumbling. It seemed that he could not bear the full power of the dance stage and had to take a step back. One step was not enough. 2 steps, 3 steps, 4 steps. At the same time, his abdomen wriggled and his body emitted a thunderous sound, counteracting the shock caused by the impact of the waterfall. Zhou Jingquan, who was hit by the mountain-shattering quake of Thunder Roar Zen, was not in a good condition either. Every bone and every joint in his body was shaking, and every inch of his tendons and flesh was rippling. Seeing that Lu Cheng was retreating after the head-on collision, Zhou Jingquan was unable to catch up with him and seize the opportunity to win. Such a scene was exactly what Lu Cheng had expected. After taking 4 steps back, he eliminated the shock and dissolved the majestic power of the dance stage explosion. He began to adjust the corresponding parts of his body, preparing to stomp on the ground and take the initiative to counterattack. Severe warning. At this moment, the trembling of Zhou Jingquan's body, the tumbling of his body, and the paleness of his face suddenly gathered together with his qi, blood, and mental strength to form a human body Big Dan. In the live broadcast room of Songqing TV station, Gan Lu blurted out, "Double explosion." After completing the triple explosion of the dance stage, Zhou Jingquan could still make another double explosion. Yan Shaoling, Brahmin, and the rest of the audience who had just heard the horror of the triple explosion of the dance stage from the commentator, held their breaths and felt inexplicably uneasy. According to last week's competition and the previous video, everyone guessed that Zhou Jingquan could still complete the dance stage explosion 2 or 3 times without any injury. But no one expected that he could make another double explosion. Brahmin, Gan Lu, Yanzhika, and Lu Cheng did not expect this. When he saw Zhou Jingquan's force concentration, he had only completed half of the preparation for the severe warning. It was too late. Lu Cheng made a prompt decision and stopped the follow-up. He slightly adjusted the change of his body and changed it to the prerequisite of the frost force. Fortunately, the severe warning was a combination of the frost force. The two had too many similarities in the corresponding state of the bones, muscles, and viscera. The former was more complicated, while the latter was relatively simpler, which was suitable for Lu Qing to complete quickly. Boom. When pressed to the extreme, it could also explode to the extreme. The Dan in Zhou Jingxuan's body exploded, and all the accumulated strength in his body surged out, making him a little taller and more powerful. He caught up with Lu Qing in one leap, raised his right hand high and turned it into a waterfall surging down. The turbid river in Lu Cheng's mind suddenly froze and froze inch by inch. Its rolling posture became a still picture. The cold current in his body turned into a tide. Lu Cheng put his feet together, twisted his waist and bounced his right arm, clenched his fist and punched upward. Rocket-propelled cannon, frost force. Bang. Lu Cheng's body suddenly became shorter, and his feet sank into the bluestone a little. His qi and blood surged crazily, triggering the previous shock, shaking his viscera, muscles and tendons. He almost tasted something sweet in his throat, which made him feel sick and uncomfortable. Unable to do anything, he could only roll back along with the majesty of the waterfall to dissolve the remaining force and avoid fractures or internal injuries. And Zhou Jingxuan's fist was covered with a layer of white frost. Part of the cold current was dispersed, but part of it poured into his body and quickly spread to his whole body. He couldn't help but shiver and stiffen his muscles. If his body was still in the same condition as before, he would naturally be able to quickly beat his heart, surge his blood and dissolve the ice. But after forcibly completing 2 successive strikes, he was almost exhausted. Moreover, he was hit by a mountain-shattering quake, which made his viscera uncomfortable. For a short time he actually stayed there and couldn't catch up with Lu Qing, who had lost his center of gravity and lost his stance. Thump, 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 thump. Everyone was praying for Lu Qing in silence, hoping that he could stand up first. Yanjika couldn't sit still anymore. She stood up from her seat and looked at the arena with concern and anxiety. Thump. Lu Qing's vibration was slightly relieved. He immediately jumped up like a carp and stood up. Li Liantong, Fan Yanxi and the rest of the audience instinctively cheered, but they saw Zhou Jingquan move. His lips were pale and he stepped on the black bricks and pounced on Lu Qing. Again he visualized the power of the waterfall and raised his right arm. Bam! He clenched his fist and chopped down. Waterfall, a fly-fall punch. Lu Qing's feet were still shaking, so he didn't have time to dodge. He could only gather his remaining strength and tighten the muscles of his hands, wrists, forearms and upper arms to visualize the flashing silver-white thundercloud. Thump. He didn't show any weakness and punched upward. Thunder roar Zen. Bang. As soon as the two touched, he immediately exploded the tight part, which made a short but strong impact. Thump. Lu Qing and Zhou Jingquan stepped back at the same time. When their feet landed, they were both floating. Their bodies were obviously trembling and their eyes were blank. Thump. Umph. Both of them recovered at the same time. Zhou Jingquan gathered his strength again, twisted his waist and back, and stretched out his arms to hit the waterfall, a fly-fall punch again. When two rivals meet on a narrow road, the brave wins. Lu Qing knew he couldn't dodge it this time. He also visualized the thundercloud, compressed the corresponding fascia and muscles, and hit the skyrocket cannon with Thunder Roar Zen as the base. Bang! Both of them were shocked and felt so disgusted that they wanted to vomit. They felt that every part of their bodies was trembling, as if they had lost control of their bodies in a short time. Thump! Lu Qing recovered a little from the thunder in his abdomen. He didn't make any adjustments, but swung his left arm and hit the Thunder Roar Zen again. Zhou Jingquan was obviously a little slower. He could only barely raise his arms to block the attack. Bang! His body jumped a little and his arms became soft and weak. Is he exhausted? Lu Qing didn't want to show mercy. He shook his right shoulder and hit the Thunder Roar Zen again. Bang! Zhou Jingquan was like being hit by a bomb. After blocking the attack, he fell to the ground. He curled up his body and kept retching. If he continued to fight, he would have internal bleeding. The referee raised his right hand and calmly shouted, "Round 3, Lu Qing wins." Seeing the scene of Zhou Jingquan falling to the ground and hearing the referee's announcement, Huan Fan, Yen Shaoling and the others in front of the computer, as well as Li Liantong, Fan Yanxi, and the other audience members in the scene, all let out a sigh of relief. Lu Qing. While cheering, they were shocked to see Lu Qing bend over and retch with a painful expression. Obviously he was not relaxed. Yanjika's heart was in her mouth again. At this time Lu Qing, who felt uncomfortable all over, was a little confused. How could this battle be more difficult and dangerous than he expected? Not only did he not find a chance to hit the severe warning, but he also left a strong impact. Although he won, it was a Pyrrhic victory. Even if Zhou Jingquan could hit the double combo again, it shouldn't be like this. When he thought of severe warning, he suddenly had an epiphany. He remembered the various problems he had exposed when he used this move. He also remembered the few words his master had said to him. Do you think Zhou Jingquan will stand there like a wooden stake and wait for you to prepare the severe warning? Wait for you to meet force with force? Even your frost force needs a short period of time to complete, let alone the severe warning that you just learned? If you really put your hope on this move, you will be like a 3-year-old child holding a 1,000-pound hammer. Not only will you not hit the enemy, but you will also hurt yourself easily. The purpose of practicing severe warning is not to master it, but to use it to further master Frost Force and Thunder Roar Zen. This is what you have to fight against Zhou Jingquan. That's right. Back then, I clearly felt that it made a lot of sense. But when I thought about the unity of opposites, I ignored those words and focused all my attention on mastering and using severe warning. Geezer Sure in the home team seat sighed and said to himself, I was like this in the past. It was hard to forget oneself. Chapter 220. In the live broadcast room of Songqing TV station, the host Fang Juexiao couldn't help but praise, "This match is really wonderful. I haven't had such a fierce fight for a long time. Gan, I see that Lu Qing is in pain and has been retching. How much do you think he is affected by the concussion?" Gan Lu sighed, his body refinement is close to the peak. If it wasn't for the fact that he felt extremely uncomfortable and couldn't control his body, he wouldn't have displayed the appearance of retching. So I originally thought quite highly of him. I thought that as long as he could pass Zhou Jingquan's test, with that abnormal physical strength of his, he would have a great chance of beating Hou Yu. So serious? Fang Juexiao asked even though he already knew the answer. He knew that the audience watching the live broadcast would definitely be very concerned about this. Even the students watching the live broadcast would probably check the forum and watch the live broadcast intermittently to understand Lu Cheng's current situation from their explanations. Gan Lu nodded as a mighty one of the dance stage, shattering many people's expectations. Yes, very serious. Fang Juexiao made a regretful expression. Unfortunately, there is no time to talk to let him recover. Well, Hou Yu is about to enter the ring. Let's switch back to the scene. After listening to the analysis of the two commentators, Yan Xiaoling's heart tightened. She hurriedly posted a post in the BBS and tagged Unparalleled Dragon King, and rode to the arena. Come out quickly. Is our Lu Qing serious? Unparalleled Dragon King replied with a sighing emoji, Can my vision and judgment be better than a mighty one of the dance stage? My judgment is the same as that of the commentators. Lu Qing is greatly affected and his physical condition is very bad. Rode to the arena, answered seriously. Brahmin sent an emoji of holding back tears. What should I do? I want to cry so much. Don't cry. Let's cheer for Lu Qing together. Yan Xiaoling quickly gathered her strength. With tears in her eyes, she bit her lips and clenched her fists, looking at the live broadcast nervously and expectantly. In the martial arts arena of Songqing University, although Li Liantong and others didn't check the BBS or listen to the commentary, when they saw Lu Cheng's painful performance through the big screen, they still felt an inexplicable concern and bad premonition. How is he? Is he injured? Would they lose the next match? The excited shouts that had erupted because of Zhou Jingquan's fall had quieted down. Many of the female students, including Fan Yanxi, had put on a praying posture, their hands covering their mouths. Come on, Lu Qing. In the seats of the home team, Yan Zhika walked to the stone steps, ignoring the gazes of others. She bit her lower lip with her pearly white teeth, looking distressed and worried. Her hands were clenched into fists. In the arena, Lu Qing recovered a little. He had no time to review, reflect, or be annoyed. He suppressed all kinds of emotions first. He concealed his spirit and qi, visualized the thundercloud, wriggled his abdomen, and seized the little time to use the internal training method to adjust the state of his body. Every bit of recovery counted. Energy was not completely independent of the body. It was also rooted in the state of the body. Like a person who caught a cold, not only was he tired and weak, but also his thinking was slow. When Lu Qing was so affected, his spirit was naturally weakened, and he didn't have the ability to use the severe warning again. Later he would make a solid defense. He would use his supernatural ability with the help of the Frost Force or simply hide it in his normal moves to exhaust his strength to the limit as soon as possible and squeeze the Jindan. If he fell into a dangerous situation, this would be the only way. Lu Qing quickly made a decision not to admit defeat easily. This was not only because he showed confidence in Ku at the last minute and said bold words, but also because he was carried away and failed to live up to his brother-in-law's efforts and pain. There was also a very important reason. I want to win. Nothing else, I want to win. He took a breath and his abdomen roared like thunder. When the referee announced the result of the third round, Hoyu jumped up from his seat and ran to the arena without thinking. He always remembered that before he walked out of the locker room, senior brother Zhou told him to run to the arena immediately without any delay once he heard the announcement of the last round's result. When he got close, he was stunned because he saw his senior brother curled up on the ground like a shrimp. His hair was messy, his expression was painful, and he even vomited a little bile. Is this senior brother Zhou? In Hoyu's memory, senior brother Zhou Jinquan was a person who paid great attention to appearance and manners. His most worshipped idol was Xian, who played chess calmly after hearing the news of the victory at Fei River. His hair and clothes were always meticulous, and his words and deeds were always calm and gentle. He had lost before, but in rare failures he left the arena gracefully, and was ridiculed by senior sister Zhua and senior sister Li for wanting to be gracious and not get any benefits. But now, senior brother Zhou was so painful and lost his self-control. In order to create a chance for himself to defeat Lu Qing, he even gave up his most valued image. Hoyu, who was only a few days away from turning 18, was the age when he was most easily moved and excited. Thinking of this, his eyes immediately turned red, and his fighting spirit surged. No matter what he had to pay, no matter how hard he had to fight, he couldn't let senior brother Zhou down. When Hoyu walked to the stone steps, Zhou Jinquan had been helped down by the staff. When they passed by each other, Zhou Jinquan, with messy hair and a pale face, murmured, "Fight?" Hoyu nodded hard, clenched his fist and said, "Fight." In the face of such a strong enemy like Lu Qing, how could he win if he didn't fight, no matter how weak and painful he was? If he didn't fight, how could he seize the opportunity when his body was still affected by the shock? Hoyu stepped into the arena and stood at the position where Zhou Jinquan stood before, hearing the buzzing sound from Lu Qing's body. Lu Qing opened his eyes, exhaled a foul air, and instantly switched from internal training to fighting mode. The referee raised his right hand and waved it down steadily. "Start." Lu Qing, whose calves were still trembling, didn't move. Even if he could move, he wouldn't, because it was not a wise idea to chase a monkey running all over the arena, especially in his current state. And if he was careless, his mood would be affected. The more he fought, the more anxious he would be, and the more serious the problem would become. So he took a breath and calmly observed Hoyu's every move. He was not only waiting for his opponent's attack, but also seizing the time to recover. The longer the battle lasted, the better it was for him. Hoyu jumped around Lu Qing with his agile footwork. He took a sudden step forward when he saw the opportunity and rushed to the side of his opponent. Then he turned his waist and twisted the strength of his whole body into one, and punched at his opponent's waist. Lu Qing sat down, straightened his spine, exploded the strength of his shoulders, clenched his fist, and punched down with a whistling sound. Bang! In the muffled sound, both sides shook. Just when Lu Qing thought Hoyu would take the opportunity to dodge and continue to fight, he saw Hoyu clench his teeth, widen his eyes, and suddenly put strength in his feet, which made several cracks. He wants to use the fly-fall punch waterfall to trigger the remaining influence in my body? Lu Qing instantly understood Hoyu's plan, but he knew his physical condition was not enough to support this dodge, so he also clenched his teeth, adjusted the corresponding muscles and fascia, wriggled the related viscera, and visualized a vast river. "Who's afraid of you?" Lu Qing, with the courage to risk his life, froze the turbid river, made the waves crystal clear, made the world stand still, and made the muscles of his arms expand, as if he was holding a heavy object, and punched up. Cold current into tide, frost force. At this time, Hoyu also violently clenched his fist and chopped down with the flying fall 3,000 feet. Bang! There was a brief haze at the place where the two fists met, like a thin mist of white frost. Lu Qing's body trembled obviously again, and the muscles of his face twitched uncontrollably. The remaining influence in his body was triggered a lot, which made his previous attempt to recover in vain. Hoyu kept shivering, his lips turned purple, and his hands and feet were stiff and cold. Thump, thump, thump. His heart beat violently, expanded and contracted quickly, and spurted out a stream of hot blood to dissolve the coldness in his body. Then he made a choice that was contrary to his fighting style and character. Again he visualized the accumulating and rising source, twisted his waist and popped out his arms. Not even half a step back. At the same time, Lu Qing also wriggled his abdomen, visualized the thundercloud, and made a reverse offset, which was a preliminary relief. Facing Hou Yu's ferocious face and unflinching attack, he had no time to change his visualization, so he had to change his internal training to external attack, tightened his arms and launched the sky cannon. Bang! There seemed to be an explosion in the arena, and the two were rebounded by the impact and each took a step back. Hou Yu used his internal training method. His eyes were red and the shock had yet to dissipate. He stepped on the black bricks and pounced forward again. He fought crazily, forgetting himself, disregarding everything. He fought like he was not himself. At this time, Lu Qing was so uncomfortable that he wanted to lie down directly. He had no time or opportunity to squeeze the Jindan. He could only force himself to take a breath, and with the momentum of all out and fighting, he swung his arm and blasted out a seabed quake. The waterfall flew down and hit the ground. Hou Yu didn't make a downward cut, but clenched his fist diagonally to block Lu Cheng's thunder roar zen. Bang! The thunder on the ground shocked the whole audience into silence. The remaining influence in Lu Cheng's body was completely detonated. His legs were weak, his qi and blood rushed to his throat, and he fell to the ground with tinnitus and dizziness. Opposite him, Hou Yu, who had been hit by a frost force and 2 tremor punches, also had stiff muscles, trembling joints and rolling qi and blood. He couldn't stand up anymore and suddenly collapsed. After 3 moves in a row, Hou Yu, who was not good at this, and Lu Qing, who was in a bad condition, fell to the ground at the same time. The referee stood beside them, silently counting the time. Li Liantong, Fan Yanxi and other audience members were worried at first, and then they came to themselves. With red eyes they shouted a name in unison, Lu Qing, Lu Qing, Lu Qing, Lu Qing, Lu Qing. In front of the computer screen, Yan Shaoling, Brahmin, and others also shouted this name in a low voice, as if they wanted to give him courage and strength to help him stand up. Lu Qing, Lu Qing. Yan Zhika, Sun Jian and others also shouted loudly with the audience, but one was at the side of the ring and the others were at the seats. Lin Ke subconsciously clenched his fists and stared at the ring. Lu Qing saw Hou Yu fall to the ground from the corner of his eyes, and tried to adjust the condition of his body while he was retching. He tried to visualize the thundercloud to finish one internal training and stand up first. However, even his mind and thoughts were shaking so he couldn't visualize at all. Lu Qing. Lu Qing. Amidst the orderly shouts, a figure struggled to get up. His legs were trembling but he stood firmly. The shouts of the whole arena stopped, and there was an indescribable silence because it was Hou Yu who stood up. Hou Yu's face was pale. He took a deep breath and stepped to Lu Cheng's side. Without him doing anything, the referee raised his right hand and announced the result. Round 4, Hou Yu wins. Hearing this, Hou Yu looked back at his own seat, with snot and tears running down his face. Senior brother Zhou, I won. I didn't let you down. Lin Ke loosened his hands and buried his face deep. Li Liantong, Wu Qian, Fan Yanxi, and other students couldn't hold it anymore and tears fell down. He walked so hard but he stopped here? Just a little bit more. Vaguely hearing the judgment, Lu Cheng's heart was suddenly filled with pain and annoyance. It's all my fault. I was too complacent. I didn't take the responsibility of this competition. At this moment he felt that he was supported by someone, and he smelled a familiar fragrance. Looking sideways he saw Yanzhika's beautiful face. Thinking that he failed to live up to the girl's expectations, that he didn't fulfill his promise, and that his high spirits and confidence turned into bubbles, Lu Qing was full of guilt and shame, and he didn't dare to face Yanzhika. He whispered painfully, I'm sorry. Yanzhika looked at the boy who was in extreme pain and her heart was full of pity. Her eyes were red and she said softly, You played very well. Just a little bit more and you could have won. I should have played better. Lu Qing clenched his fists and wanted to give himself a punch. Otherwise he couldn't dispel the shame and self-blame in his heart. That little bit could have been fought for. Yanzhika knew that the more she talked, the more painful it would be. She didn't want to dwell on this topic and said firmly, Then win it back later. Win it back later? Lu Qing was stunned and answered in a promising manner, Okay. As soon as he calmed down he returned to the seats. Seeing the painful Lin Ke, the confused Sun Jian and the others, he couldn't help but blame himself. He took a breath and said solemnly, I'm sorry. I didn't play well this time. Li Mao immediately answered, No, we were too weak. It's good enough that you've fought to this extent. Otherwise, losing this round meant losing everything, and they couldn't count on the substitute match. Yes, we were too weak. We could only count on you too. Lin Hua's eyes were misty. Lin Ke also put down his palms and said with a painful but firm look in his eyes, I was also wrong. I wasn't good enough. Hearing that his teammates were scrambling to take responsibility, Lu Cheng's eyes blurred, and he almost shed tears. At this time, Geezer Shi, who had been silent, said, Do you understand? Lu Cheng lowered his head and nodded slightly, I understand. Don't be complacent in the future. Geezer Shi sighed, Then I'll teach you one more thing. Don't be complacent and don't lose your spirit when you're down. Lose my spirit? Lu Cheng looked up blankly. Geezer Shi nodded and answered, Yes, the spirit of chasing, the spirit of striving, and the spirit of fighting. Chapter 221. The spirit of pursuit, the spirit of perseverance, the spirit of struggle. Lu Cheng was shocked and couldn't help but shudder. He kept reciting these three kinds of spirits and climbed out of the swamp of regret and self-blame. Failure was not terrible. What was terrible was not being able to recover after failure. Seeing Lu Cheng's reaction, Geezer Shi smiled with satisfaction. Donglin Squad can only be considered as a small pit on your martial arts path. When you cross this threshold and look back, you will find that it is not a problem at all. You should set your sights higher. The real opponent you need to catch up with, challenge and defeat is in the university martial arts competitions. Haha, when Peng Liyun was at professional 8th pin, he beat Zhou Jingquan just like you beat most of the professional 9th pin fighters now. After this incident, he seemed to have acquiesced to open the master-disciple relationship between them and calmly taught Lu Cheng. Lu Cheng took a deep breath and felt that the next goal was more and more clear. That was to break through the big devil, Peng Liyun, who had been lingering in his ears for the past year. He wanted to catch up with the real genius who was regarded as his role model by his master at the beginning of his martial arts practice. If he couldn't win the championship of the university martial arts competition before Peng Liyun graduated, even if he and Lin Ke were lucky enough to win this honor, it would be full of regret. Geezer Shi didn't say more. He turned to Sun Jian and said, What are you waiting for? Go up and finish what you started. Because they lost the last match 2-3, even if Sun Jian beat Hou Yu who was in a bad condition this round, the final score would only be a draw. There would be an extra round of substitutes. Among the substitutes, Donglin Squad still had a strong professional 9th pin fighter, Li Xingnan. Songqing University Martial Arts Club didn't even have an amateur first pin fighter, so there would be no surprises. Therefore, Sun Jian didn't rush into the arena. It didn't matter to let Hou Yu recover a little. After all, it wouldn't change the overall situation. Sun Jian nodded and walked to the stone steps with mixed feelings. If only we substitutes were stronger. In the arena, Hou Yu had performed the waterfall of the fly fall punch 3 times in a row. Not only did he consume a lot of energy, but his body was also affected by the shock. He couldn't run around the arena. Sun Jian cautiously circled around him for a while and found that his opponent seemed to have difficulty even walking. So he plucked up his courage and approached him with the 24 blizzard strikes. The referee raised his right hand and said in a calm tone, 5th round, Sun Jian wins. Under normal circumstances, the audience would cheer for Sun Jian and cheer for the martial arts club. But now, they were silent and even sobbing, as if they were watching a tragedy unfold. Before the match, they had already been briefed on the rules. They also knew that the substitutes of their own martial arts club were no match for the other party. As expected, the referee continued to announce, the result of this match is Songqing University Martial Arts Club's victory. The overall result of this match is a tie. Additional round, substitute battle. Geezer Shi looked at Li Mao and the others and sighed. Are you going to compete? That's right, do you want to compete? They couldn't win the game and couldn't change the result. Li Mao and Lin Hua were silent for a while. They were at a loss. Why waste physical strength and effort? Yan Zhika lowered her eyelashes and covered her eyes. She forced a smile and said, Of course. Coach Shi, didn't you say that we are here for actual combat? How could he not play when there's a competition? You're right. Geezer Shi blushed and laughed dryly. Go ahead then. This old man had almost forgotten this slogan. Don't you want to cheer for me? Yan Zhika reached out her hand to Lu Cheng. Her eyes were red and bright. Lu Cheng took a breath and said in a voice that could only be heard by both parties. Go Coach Yan. With a clap, they high-fived each other. Yan Zhika turned around and walked down from her seat to the stone steps. She felt sad, pitiful, and regretful. But there was also a firm belief in her heart. We can lose but we can't admit defeat. Seeing this beautiful girl, who shouldn't exist in the violent arena, walking to the battlefield without hesitation, the audience seemed to be infected. They calmed down and scattered cheers sounded again. Fighting to this extent, we are already good enough. There weren't many miracles in the world. Yanjika's fierce attack at the beginning did startle Li Xingnan. But she was much more experienced and stronger than her opponent. She soon steadied herself and launched a counterattack. She won quickly. Then Li Mao and Lin Hua took turns to challenge her, but they still couldn't break through this wall. The referee took a breath and said loudly, "Substitute battle, Donglin squad wins." The final result, Donglin squad wins. The whole arena fell into silence again. A thick sense of sadness reverberated in the martial arts gym. Yanjika bit her lower lip and pulled Lu Cheng with misty eyes. "Cheng, let's go and say thank you to everyone." Lu Cheng originally had this idea. But after not being able to bear the result, he was afraid to face the enthusiastic students and see their disappointed and sad expressions. At this moment, hearing his girlfriend's suggestion, he took a deep breath and said, "Okay. A man can't be a coward. Since it's my responsibility, I have to face it myself. No matter how disappointed they are, or scolded me, or even throw things at me, I'll bear it. I'll make up for it in the next match." Lu Qing stood up, patted Sun Jian, Li Mao and others and led them to the stands. Hand in hand they bowed together. "Thank you for your support, for your cheers, for your shouts and for your sadness." Just when Lu Qing was ready to bear everything, a hoarse shout suddenly rang out from the stands. "Next time. Next time." Lu Qing and others were stunned and didn't react. The spectators in the stands were silent at first, and then they shouted noisily, "Next time. Next time. Next time. Win for us next time." The voices gradually became uniform, which affected the other stands. All the spectators shouted in unison, "Next time. Next time." No complaints, no disappointment, only encouragement and expectation. Lu Qing, who had always believed that men don't cry easily, and men don't shed tears when they bled, suddenly had tears in his eyes and a sore nose. Once again he and his teammates bowed deeply, thanking for their love and support. "It's so good to have you. We'll win next time. Next time. Next time." The shouts of the audience were transmitted to thousands of households through the airwaves, making Yen Shaoling, Brahmin, and the other girls burst into tears. Choking with sobs, they followed and shouted, "Next time, next time, next time, next time, next time." Xu Rui, who had just been out of school for a year, was affected by the atmosphere. She sniffed and was afraid that she would be too embarrassed to cry. At the same time, she was worried about what to do. Songqing University lost. How to interview Lin Ke later. Thinking of this, she really wanted to cry. Next time. Next time. Lu Qing turned his head to look at Yanjika with blurred vision. He found that the girl's eyes were filled with mist. Her eyes were obviously red, but she didn't cry. Cry. He held the girl's hand. She took a breath and said with a smile that was uglier than crying, "I don't cry when I'm sad. Next time. Next time." Li Liantong, Fan Yanxi, and others had been completely immersed in the atmosphere, crying and shouting at the same time. Laughter can make people reminisce from time to time, while crying is unforgettable. After the game, Lu Qing took a shower, changed his clothes and walked out of the locker room directly. He was familiar with the way and knew that there would be an interview waiting for him, so the sooner he finished, the better. Xu Rui looked at him in surprise. She laughed and said, "Lu Qing, I thought you would be the last to come out." Lu Qing wanted to make a joke and say, "Last time I won, so I gave the limelight to everyone. Today I lost, so I'll take the blame first." But he was not in the mood. He just replied politely, "I didn't know you would be waiting for an interview." Good boy. Compared to Lin Ke, he was much better. Xu Rui ridiculed and brought the topic back on track. "You don't seem to be in a good mood. Was today's game very important to you?" "Every game is important to me." Lu Qing said concisely, "Failure will definitely make people unhappy." Xu Rui thought for a while and said, "Then I'll be bold and ask, what do you think of this failure? What do you think you lost in? What do you need to improve?" "We are more or less the same as the Donglin squad. Both of us have a chance to win. This time it's mainly because I've been going so smoothly and got a little carried away. I always wanted to take down the opponent in one go. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to face Zhou Jingxuan's dance stage explosion head-on." Lu Qing said sincerely, taking up his own responsibility. A man can't shirk. As for the reason that he lost because of the simplified physical invulnerability moves, he would definitely not say that. Since he didn't use it, it was a rare trump card. Shu Rui thought for a while and comforted him. It's normal to be young and frivolous. Knowing how to reflect is a sign of maturity. By the way, Lu Qing, you will participate in the National University Martial Arts competition in the next half of the year. What's your goal? Well, to enter the national finals. Lu Qing didn't say that his goal was Peng Liyun and the overall champion, because it would definitely be ridiculed. Although you are strong, you are not at the same level as Peng Liyun. In fact, you are far from him. And his improvement is not slower than yours. Then I wish you success. Shu Rui ended the short interview. She continued to interview Yan Zhika and the others. Then she faced the ultimate challenge, the expressionless Lin Quebec. Lin K, what do you think of your performance in today's game? Shu Rui tried to cut in from the perspective of the martial arts competition. Lin K said indifferently, not good. What? Shu Rui had the urge to go crazy again. Can't you answer in one breath? Why are you like a voice assistant? You answer one question after another. I didn't expect Zhou Jingquan to make 3 consecutive bursts at the beginning. Lin K's eyes showed that he was in pain. If he had fought a little better and left some influence on Zhou Jingquan, the result would have been different. Shu Rui nodded and asked, the National University Martial Arts competition will be in the next half of the year. What's your plan and expectation? After a few seconds of silence, Lin K answered, practice hard. After that, he walked past Shu Rui to the gate of the stadium. Shu Rui felt inexplicably sad. If Lin K had said, it's a secret, or, I won't tell you, she could feel that he was in a good mood and could even make cold jokes. But now he must be in pain. Time flew. It had been more than a month since the game in May. Lu Qing stood beside the lush trees and closed his eyes to visualize the thundercloud. He compressed his muscles and wriggled his abdomen to create a slight vibration to strengthen his internal organs. Gradually, he felt that his heart was beating more and more vigorously. Blood gushed out and flowed clearly to every organ in his body. Under his control, his heart slowed down quickly without any difficulty. So did the rest of his organs. This was the sign of martial arts training in the body. This was the sign of the peak of body refining. The next step was to integrate all the forces in his body and comprehend the meaning of withdraw. Lu Qing opened his eyes. His chi was vigorous and fierce. He didn't squeeze the Jin Dan again to improve his supernatural ability because he felt that it would be contradictory to his comprehension of the meaning of withdraw. Many supernatural ability users couldn't reach the Dan stage because their supernatural ability was getting stronger and stronger. He was a martial artist and couldn't confuse his priorities. He would wait until he comprehended the meaning of withdraw, and then ask his master to help him awaken his supernatural ability. Besides, his master said that he had made some progress on the fire sect visualization. He might have a chance to get it next semester. Of course, this was a plan for the future. The most important thing now was, go home. Go back to Xioshan. Go back to Xioshan with Ku. In his mind, he visualized a big sun falling from the sky and crashing into a frozen river. Yin and Yang collided fiercely. Bam! He punched the tree in front of him and then withdrew his hand. He turned around and left without even looking at it. As he left, leaves suddenly fell from the tree that seemed to be motionless. The more they fell, the more yellow they became. It was as if winter had arrived. End of part 1. Chapter 222. Dusk had passed and the train was running fast. Yanjika couldn't bear the tiredness and fell asleep on her boyfriend's shoulder. Lu Cheng's right shoulder didn't move at all. His left hand gently reached out and skillfully grabbed the backpack on the side. Then he unzipped it, took out a jacket and put it on Yanjika. For men, there was a kind of coldness called, your girlfriend may feel cold. But high-speed trains were always hot in winter and cold in summer. Considering his girlfriend's travel habits, Lu Qing didn't want her to travel for several hours, so he proposed to take a plane home. But Yanjika refused and even calculated the time for him. It took about 50 minutes to get to the airport from the new campus of Songqing University, which was about the same as the train station. At the airport they had to get the boarding pass and go through the security check, which took about an hour. Even if the plane took off on time, it would take at least 2 hours. Besides, the destination was Gaofen, the provincial capital, and they had to transfer to Xioshan by train. All in all, it would take at least 5 hours. But the high-speed train from Songqing to Xioshan would only take 6 hours from the new campus, so they didn't have to make so many transfers. Lu Qing chose a train that could run at night to preserve the taste of the food when he went back to school. Of course, it was not as fast as the high-speed train. The scenery outside the window kept passing by. Lu Qing was a little excited and a little melancholy. He was excited because he missed home, his parents and everything in Xioshan. He was melancholy because he couldn't be with Yanjika every day after returning to Xioshan. She went to Jiangnan during the winter vacation, which meant she hadn't seen her relatives and friends here for almost a year. She would have to go to all kinds of parties. More importantly, she would have to spend time with her parents, so she couldn't be as free as she was in school. Fortunately, they had agreed to exercise together every morning. While Lu Qing was thinking, the speed of the high-speed train started to slow down, and the announcement of arrival came from the radio. Xioshan ahead. Yanjika's long eyelashes trembled, and her eyes opened slowly. Her face was full of confusion, as if she had just woken up. Where are we? We'll be there soon. Lu Qing put his left hand into his trouser pocket and took out a pack of tissue. Yanjika woke up. She blushed and let her boyfriend wipe the corners of her mouth. She was drooling again. Your t-shirt. She turned her eyes and saw the wet stains on Lu Qing's clothes. She couldn't help but smile, but she was a little proud. Lu was about to tease her when he heard the cheerful ringtone of the girl's cell phone. Empress, Empress. Yanjika shrank her neck when she saw the caller ID. She answered the call. Hello, Mom. I'll be there in a few minutes. Bye. The train? Bye. Poor me, no one picked me up. Lu Qing listened quietly and made a self-deprecating remark with a smile. Calm. That's right. Poor Qing, I'll pick you up in the future. Yanjika answered with a smile and helped him tidy up his collar. Lu Qing stood up with a smile on his face. With one hand in each hand, he took down the girl's trolley box and big backpack. His effortless and steady manner attracted the attention of the passengers around him. This boy is neither tall nor strong, but he is strong. Carrying 2 bags, dragging the suitcase and holding Yanjika's hand, Lu Qing went through the door, got off the platform, passed the gate and arrived at the hall. Yanjika stopped and said with melancholy, "Give me the luggage." After helping her carry her luggage, Lu Qing waved his hand. Holding back his reluctance, he smiled and said, "See you tomorrow." See you tomorrow? Yanjika pursed her lips and smiled. Although they had agreed to exercise together every morning, Lu Qing felt that Empress Dowager would make some trouble. She dragged the suitcase and walked a few steps. Then she stopped and looked back at Lu Qing. After a few seconds of hesitation, she waved her hand, turned around and walked quickly out of the hall. Lu Qing sighed and stood there. He planned to wait for a while before going out. He didn't want to meet Empress Dowager. After more than a minute, his cell phone beeped. Yanjika said, "I've met up with Empress Dowager. You should go home soon." "Don't worry. The bus here doesn't stop until 9. Lu Qing replied as he walked out of the station with the luggage. Yanjika put on an obedient expression and said, Actually, I wanted to give you a goodbye kiss just now." For the shy Yanjika, it's just a thought, right? Lu Qing said with a smirk. "Hey, you know me very well." Yanjika replied, humming a little song. After chatting for a while, Yanjika's reply slowed down. Apparently, she was talking to her parents. Lu Qing put the phone in his pocket and sped up to catch the nearest bus. He went straight to the back door with the yin-yang stance and took out his cell phone. It was almost 8 o'clock. He didn't ask his mother to leave him dinner. He had to find something to eat. As for how to find it, he was back in Xioshan. He didn't need to worry about being unfamiliar with the place. Lu Qing found Qin Rui's number in his contact list and called him directly to see if his old classmate was free. He wanted to thank him face-to-face for helping his cousin's boyfriend enter Gushin martial arts school. Secondly, he wanted to ask about his summer job. "Hello, Qing. You're on holiday? You're back?" Qin Rui asked happily on the other side of the phone. Lu Qing laughed. "Yeah. I just got back to Xioshan and didn't leave any food at home. I'm going to eat something outside before going back. Are you free? Let's meet up?" "Sure. Where do you want to meet?" "There's a new crayfish restaurant near Peace Bridge. It's pretty good. You can try it." Qin Rui agreed without hesitation, although he had just had dinner at 6:30. After Dai Linfeng and other brothers witnessed their classmate Lu Qing kill a professional ninth pin fighter, his status in the martial arts school had unknowingly risen and he had received the respect he had never enjoyed before. This made him, who had been out of school for a year, deeply understand the fickleness of human nature and how to manage one's own network. Without a doubt, Lu Qing was definitely a classmate worth keeping a good relationship with. Lu Qing smiled and said, "Let's go there next time. Guys like us who come back only once in half a year always want to eat something familiar. How about Old Lu Barbecue? Let's meet at Old Lu Barbecue." Qin Rui paused and said, "Your cousin is playing in the martial arts school. Do you want her and Ding to go there too?" Ding Yanba had been in the Gushin martial arts school for almost a month. Qin Rui naturally knew that he was not a child of Lu Cheng's relatives, but a relative's child's boyfriend. Feifei? She's in Xioshan? Lu Cheng asked in surprise. When did Qi Yunfei come to Xioshan from Ningxue? Aunt doesn't care about her? Qi Yunfei performed well in the middle school entrance exam in June and failed to get into Xioshan No. 1 middle school and Ningxue No. 2 middle school. Fortunately, the difference between the scores was not big. Aunt Qiyan made up her mind and spent a lot of money to send her to Xioshan No. 1 middle school. Yeah. She said she'll stay at your house these days. Qin Rui answered with a smile. She's staying at my house? Then I can only sleep on the sofa? Lu Qing didn't expect that he would be the director on the first day he came back. He was annoyed and amused at the same time. Okay. You can ask them to come over. I'll see what that guy looks like. He also wanted to warn Feifei to know her limits and not to delay her studies. When Lu Qing arrived at the old Lu barbecue restaurant with his luggage, Qi Yunfei and her boyfriend were already waiting there. Qin Rui left from his house and would arrive in a few minutes. Qi Yunfei was dressed up like a popular little girl. She waved her hand and said, Brother Lu Cheng, here. Lu Qing walked over with a smile and glanced at the boy named Ding Yanba from the corner of his eyes. He found that he was more than 1.8 meters tall, which formed a cute contrast with the petite Qi Yunfei. His appearance was not outstanding, but it could be said that he looked decent without any hostility. Between his eyebrows, there was a vigorous vitality unique to his age. You're amazing. You came to Xioshan without a word. Lu Qing came in front of them and teased them while putting his backpack. Qi Yunfei smiled proudly. What do you mean by without a word? I told my mom that I'll come to your house to play for a week. As for her sister Qin Xiaoxiao, she was still in class. After that, Qi Yunfei pulled Ding Yanba and urged, Call me Brother Lu Cheng. Ding Yanba had no choice but to say shyly and embarrassedly, Brother Lu Cheng. Sit down. Lu Cheng pointed to the chair and asked casually, You've been in the martial arts club for almost a month, right? How do you feel? Can you adapt? As soon as he said this, he wanted to laugh. If Yanjiko was here, she would probably be trembling. Since when did Qing become so old-fashioned? Sure enough, it was very different to appear as a brother. Ding Yanba answered cautiously, It's okay. I'm a little tired, but I feel that I've learned a lot. Brother Rue is a serious person, but he is very good to us and does his best. That's not what you said before. Qi Yunfei interrupted with a smile. You said that Brother Rue always had a straight face and didn't show any mercy. How long has it been and you've changed your position? Ding Yanba scratched his chin and said embarrassedly, I understand now. Brother Rue is good for us. It's good to be strict. Lu Qing affirmed. Qi Yunfei pouted. Brother Lu Qing, you don't know how much he has changed during this time. Brother Rue this and Brother Rue that, he's almost like a follower. I'm learning martial arts better. Ding Yanba explained, You don't know how powerful Brother Rue is. He ranks among the top of the younger generation in Xioshan. You know that guy from Ningxue? He's so powerful and good at fighting, but he was knocked down by Brother Rue with a kick and a slap. God. The guy who came to our school and beat people? Qi Yunfei asked with her eyes wide open. Yes, that's him. In front of Brother Rue, he's as obedient as a dog. Ding Yanba said with excitement and admiration. By the way, Brother Rue just passed the ranking event and got the certificate of amateur first pin. Qin Rue passed the amateur ranking event in June? Lu Qing nodded with relief. At this moment he found Qin Rue's arrival in advance with his keen senses. He waved his hand and shouted loudly, Qin Rue over here. Ding Yanba and Qi Yunfei followed the sound and saw Qin Rue, who was more than 190 centimeters tall, striding over like half of an iron tower. They hurriedly stood up and shouted cautiously and reverently, Brother Rue? Qin Rue smiled and was about to speak when he suddenly found Lu Cheng's qi was vigorous to the extreme, which naturally formed a fierce and powerful feeling. He sat there quietly but seemed to be taller than himself. Is this the peak of the body refining stage? He was stunned and smiled with half bitterness and half surprise. Qing, I almost couldn't help but call Brother Lu. Chapter 223. Brother Lu? Brother Rue actually called Lu Qing Brother Lu Brother Lu? Qi Yunfei blinked her eyes and felt a little confused. That's not right. But maybe they were classmates and liked to tease each other? Yes, it must be so. Ding Yanba next to her was also in a daze. He had been in Gushan martial arts school for nearly a month, but he had never seen Brother Rui call others brother. He and Cousin Feifei were so close that they could even joke like this? What, Brother Lu? It's so unpleasant. Makes me feel old. Lu Qing smiled and took the cup. He lifted the pot of buckwheat tea on the table and poured 2.5 cups. I heard you got the certificate of amateur first pin? You know I don't drink, so I'll toast you with tea. Congratulations. Qin Rui immediately sat down, took the cup and clinked it with Lu Cheng's. He raised his head and drank it. He wiped his mouth and smiled brightly. What's there to congratulate? I can't compare with you. My size and strength are all here. As long as I practice diligently enough and proficiently enough and learn something real, amateur first pin is still relatively simple. Alas, it'll be more difficult in the future. Can't compare with you? Qi Yunfei was confused again, and then she found a reason on her own. Brother Rui must mean that amateur first pin couldn't compare with Songqing University's certificate. Ding Yanba, on the other hand, was dumbfounded. Wasn't Brother Rui known for his serious face? Only in front of senior brother Dai and others, his expression was normal. But now he was smiling so softly, so sincerely, so from the bottom of his heart. Was this the other side of him? It was not like the Brother Rui he knew. Were they close friends? Facing Qin Rui's exclamation, Lu Qing replied jokingly, "Don't be modest, don't fake it. You don't know how many people want to be of amateur first pin but can't get it. In the future you'll find a way." I'm serious. At the end of April, I thought that you might have gotten the certificate, so I searched online. Damn, I was scared to death. I was so scared that I didn't dare to call to congratulate you. I feel like we're not in the same world anymore. Qin Rui sighed and said with a smile, "How long has it been since then?" In the blink of an eye. You've exceeded my expectations again. Listening to Qin Rui's rambling, Ding Yanbo rubbed his eyes, suspecting that he had recognized the wrong person. Is this Brother Rui? When did Brother Rui start acting like a 30 or 40-year-old drunkard who likes to nag? He hadn't even drunk it yet? How could he be drunk? While he was looking left and right, Qi Yunfei pulled his clothes and winked at him. Then she said loudly, "They are so busy. No one came to greet them. I'll go in order. Brother Lu Qing, Brother Rui, what do you want to eat? What would you like to drink?" 10 skewers of chicken wings, 10 skewers of chicken tips. Lu Qing followed his usual menu and ordered. The main dish is eggplant. I'll start with 6. Qin Rui, what else do you want? Qin Rui shook his head. I only finished eating at 7 p.m. I don't have much of an appetite. I'll just eat a little. Give me a can of coconut juice. I've also quit drinking. Ah, good job. Lu Qing turned to look at Qi Yunfei. I want another can of herbal tea. You can take care of the rest. Okay, Qi Yunfei took Ding Yanba to the barbecue rack. While waiting for the order, she lowered her voice and scolded, "Liar." What liar? Ding Yanba was confused by the scolding. You said Brother Rui was very cool and serious. Qi Yunfei glanced at her boyfriend. Why can't I see it today? He's smiling like a flower. He's so kind and brilliant. Ding Yanba scratched his chin and smiled bitterly. I don't understand. Maybe he has a good relationship with your brother? Feifei, you said your brother is also practicing martial arts and he's very good. Brother Rui just said that we can search for him on the internet? How do I know? I haven't searched for him. Qi Yunfei was also full of curiosity and urged him. You should search for him quickly. Okay. Ding Yanba took out his mobile phone, opened the web application and entered Lu Cheng's name. After thinking about it, he felt that it might not be safe. He asked again, is your brother from Songqing University? Yes, I've told you many times. Qi Yunfei said angrily. With Lu Qing, Songqing University as the keyword, Ding Yanba clicked on the search and refreshed the page. At the top was the encyclopedia introduction. Hey, someone even edited the encyclopedia for your brother? Ding Yanba clicked on it excitedly and glanced at the editors. He found that they were Eternal Nightfall, Brahmin, and Unparalleled Dragon King. Name, Lu Qing. Age, 19. Height, 1.75 1.77. Weight, unknown. School, Songqing University. Rank, Professional 9th Pin. When he saw the words Professional 9th Pin, Ding Yanba's heart trembled and his wrist shook. He almost threw his mobile phone away. Professional 9th Pin? There was no Professional 9th Pin in the whole Xiushan martial arts circle. No, the encyclopedia can be edited by anyone. It's not very reliable. Ding Yanba scrolled down the page and saw many photos. He was sure that Lu Qing was his girlfriend's cousin. At the same time, he also found many links including fan forums and competition videos. Videos can't lie, right? You can tell at a glance whether it's a special effect or not. Ding Yanba clicked on one and quickly dragged the progress bar. Bang! His phone fell to the ground and hit the floor hard. What's wrong? Chi Yunfei saw her boyfriend's mouth was half open and scared out of his wits. She hurriedly asked. Ding Yanba shuddered and subconsciously bent down to pick up the phone. It was as if the broken bricks and unreasonable arms were still flashing in front of his eyes. He felt as if his soul was being hammered by those unreasonable arms. Too terrible. Too terrible. Is this really Feifei's cousin? What's wrong? Chi Yunfei saw that her boyfriend didn't answer and said more seriously. Ding Yanba handed the mobile phone to her absent-mindedly. You see it yourself. See what? Chi Yunfei's baby fat face was full of suspicion. She took the mobile phone and pressed play again. She kept scrolling. Bang. The poor mobile phone fell to the ground again and broke the tempered film on the surface. Chi Yunfei's mouth was slightly open and her eyes were full of confusion. For her, the shock she received was many times stronger than Ding Yanba. After all, he was her cousin who she often chatted with and often met during the holidays. She took a breath and said with confused eyes, I may have met a fake brother. The two looked at each other and were both dumbfounded until it was their turn to order. After ordering the skewers and taking coconut juice and herbal tea, the two children returned to their seats in silence. They heard Lu Qing telling Qin Rui how to improve from amateur first pin to professional ninth pin. It's best to be able to meditate. This can save you years or even more of body refining time. Lu Qing imitated his master's tone. Think about it. You can only do visualization when you can conceal spirit and qi. All the internal training methods need to be coordinated with visualization. If you don't do this, it will be very hard to rely on the accumulation of tempering over time. Internal training methods were the core of the body refining state. The higher the level, the more it could help the practitioner to quickly reach the physical quality of professional ninth pin and even to the peak of the body refining state. But good internal training methods were inherited and not common martial arts clubs could have them. Qin Rui nodded thoughtfully. I understand. Without supernatural ability, meditation is the foundation for martial arts to continue to move forward. Speaking of this, he smiled bitterly. But our martial arts club doesn't have internal training methods. This was not an ordinary stance. There will be a way. As long as you can meditate, there will always be a way to get internal training methods. For example, the prize of the preliminaries or the Martial Arts Association, or the one circulating on the market. Lu Qing comforted Qin Rui. The Martial Arts Association was often abbreviated as the Martial Arts Association to show its closeness to the people. Chi Yunfei, who came back with the drinks, sat in silence, looking like a quiet, cute and well-behaved girl. Her eyes kept wandering between Lu Qing and Qin Rui. She saw that although her cousin's facial features didn't change, the overall outline was more angular, masculine and handsome. She didn't look carefully before, but now that she looked at him, brother Lu Qing seemed to have become more handsome and elegant. Lu Qing felt Chi Yunfei's gaze. He touched his face and said with a little worry, Is there something on my face? Did Ku leave a mark of lip balm on my face again? No. Chi Yunfei sat upright, more honest than in front of her mother. Ding Yanba was a little scared, not daring to look or speak. Lu Qing took the drink, opened it for Qin Rui and handed it over. He laughed and said, Here to you again? Ding Yanba, I'm sorry to trouble you. He didn't know how to call his cousin's boyfriend. What are you talking about? I told you I wouldn't bother. Qin Rui clinked his can with Lu Qing and took a sip with a smile. Chi Yunfei rolled her eyes and pulled Ding Yanba, who was confused, and urged, Didn't you say you wanted to toast brother Lu Qing? Didn't you want to say thank you to him? What? Ding Yanba subconsciously wanted to refute, but his little girlfriend stared at him, so he nervously picked up the soy milk bottle and said, Brother Lu Qing, thank you for your help. Lu Qing clinked with him and took a sip. When he was about to speak, Qin Rui interrupted, Ding, it's your luck to know Chen. He can teach you a thing or two and you'll be much better than us. Practice martial arts well, don't waste his good intentions. Yes, brother Rui. Ding Yanba was not a fool. He understood Qin Rui's good intentions and quickly said to Lu Qing, Brother Lu Qing, I'll toast you again. This time he gulped down the entire bottle of soy milk. Practice martial arts hard, don't let Feifei worry. Lu Qing smiled and said as a brother. Then he followed the topic and asked, Qin Rui, is your martial arts club recruiting part-time instructors? Qin Rui was stunned at first, then laughed and said, "Of course. We're just worried that we don't have enough people. Do you want to come?" "I have nothing to do because I'm on holiday. Practicing martial arts will cost a lot of money." "Well, I don't want to trouble my family, so I want to find a part-time job to practice martial arts," Lu Qing said frankly. "Good. We can't wait to have a master like you part-time." Qin Rui was pleasantly surprised. "You don't know, but every summer many middle and high school students are sent here by their parents to practice martial arts for 2 months. They don't want anything but to strengthen their bodies. Haha, we have 10 to 20 summer classes every year. It's very relaxing. They don't want to be ranked, they just want to train." Chapter 224. This kind of class? Can't you just find a student with a fixed rank? What's there to worry about? Lu Qing's stomach was rumbling and the barbecue was not ready yet. Qin Rui laughed and said, "You don't understand, do you? Our summer classes are held 3 times a week for half a day each time. Different classes are arranged on a staggered basis. There are several levels of tuition fees. Randomly finding a student with a fixed rank to teach us is the lowest level. It costs 888 yuan for 2 months. Among the more powerful students, it costs 1,288 yuan. For inner disciples like us, it costs 2,088 yuan. Nominally we are learning from my master. Not only is the fee but we also need to have connections and background." "That works?" Lu Qing listened with great interest. The only discomfort was that his stomach was burning. Although he was more mature than when he first entered the university, he was still in touch with monotonous social classes. There were many things that he did not understand. Qin Rui gently patted the table and said, "You don't believe me? In the beginning we didn't want to divide the classes so carefully. But some parents were dissatisfied. Oh, how can my child practice with so many people? What can I learn? What if I can't take care of him? What if he bumps into something? Do you have a better class here? Fewer students, more powerful teachers, and money is not a problem." He said the last few words with a pinched throat. He imitated it vividly. Qi Yunfei and Ding Yanba, who were like 2 little quails, couldn't help but laugh. The latter never thought that Brother Rui had such a side. The heart of comparison is the source of human progress. Lu Qing faked a famous quote. He sniffed and smelled the barbecue aroma. Qin Rui took a sip of coconut milk and said, "College students are good at talking. Who doesn't have the heart of comparison? If you come here part-time, your class will definitely be the highest level. And believe it or not, you can definitely line up if you want to sign up. This is a rare professional 9th pin in Xiushan." Before he could finish his sentence, Lu Qing humorously added 2 more words. "What?" Qi Yunfei almost spat out the soy milk she just drank. Qin Rui laughed a few times and caught his breath. "You're a living advertisement. The other dojos can only stare at you helplessly. We definitely want you to come. You don't have to advertise me too much, do you?" In this aspect, Lu Qing's face was still relatively thin. "Alright, if you like to keep a low profile, then keep a low profile." Qin Rui said frankly, "I can't decide how to do it. I'll ask my master tomorrow and I'll call you then." He wasn't the dojo master, so he couldn't promise a certain amount of salary or bonus right now. "Okay, sorry to trouble you." Lu Qing thanked him sincerely. At this time he finally saw the first batch of barbecued meat being delivered. After that, he replied to Yenjika's messages and chatted with Qin Rui about the recent situation of his high school classmates and the anecdotes of the martial arts circle in Xiushan. When he was full, it was almost 9:30 p.m. After paying the bill and saying goodbye, Lu Qing glanced at his cousin. "Feifei, it's getting late. Why don't you follow me back?" "Okay." Qi Yunfei nodded briskly. Lu Qing was surprised that she was so honest. He thought that she would dawdle and say a few words of resistance. Since when did the little devil become so easy to talk to? He didn't show his doubts and led the little girl to say goodbye to Qin Rui and Ding Yanba. They stopped a taxi and went straight to their own community. In the car, Qi Yunfei maintained a quiet and silent attitude, which surprised Lu Qing and made him wonder what happened to her. She was so lively and cheerful just now. "Feifei, what's wrong with you? You don't seem to be in a good mood." Lu Qing looked at the taxi driver in front and asked with concern. Qi Yunfei seemed to wake up from a dream and said, "I'm a little sleepy after playing all day." "I'm sleepy too. I didn't take a nap." Lu Qing covered his mouth with his hand and yawned. He smelled the strong smell of barbecued meat. After entering the community and returning home, he saw his mother, Qi Fang, as soon as he opened the door. "You little bastard, why are you back so late? Where did you go? Why did you two come back together? Lu Qing smiled and said, we met on the road. Mom, why didn't you tell me Fei Fei was here when I called you today? Qifang laughed and said, I was too busy and forgot. She sniffed and said, you smell like barbecued meat. You came back so late just to eat barbecued meat? Let me tell you, this kind of food is unhygienic. Who knows if the meat they use is good or bad? You should eat less. The familiar nagging and concern made Lu Qing unable to muster the slightest desire to talk back. He answered perfunctorily, okay. Qifang said for a while and suddenly patted her head and said, oh, I almost forgot to tell you. Qing, you sleep in the living room tonight. Give the room to your sister. Mom, is she my biological sister? It's my first day back. Lu Qing joked. Qifang walked back to the sofa and sat next to Lu Jisheng. She laughed and said, only biological sisters dare to do that. Hey, Mom is getting sexier. Lu Qing laughed secretly and didn't hurry to pack up. He sat on the single sofa and planned to chat with his parents for a while. Qi Yunfei greeted him and went into the room. She found a change of clothes and went straight to the bathroom to take a shower. Lu Jisheng pushed his gold-rimmed glasses and looked at Lu Qing with a smile. Good, you are in good spirits. Practicing martial arts is very useful. Hearing this, Qifang came to her senses. She took a breath and carefully looked at her baby son. In the end, she said with a smile, if your dad didn't say it, I would have missed it. I was just looking at whether you lost weight or not. Good spirits, much smoother than your dad when he was young. Smoother was a Xioshan dialect which meant handsome. Why are you talking about me again? Lu Jisheng complained. He took a sip of tea and pondered for more than 10 seconds. Qing, is the cost of practicing martial arts very high? If you are short of money, although we are not very rich, we still have some savings. Lu Qing didn't expect his dad to ask about this. He was a little confused and subconsciously asked, Dad, why do you suddenly ask this? From the peak of body refining stage to the Dan stage, he would need the help of medicinal decoctions and other things in order to train his martial arts to the finest detail. It was indeed a huge expense, but he had already made plans. Not only had he circled a provincial youth tournament at the end of July and the beginning of August, he had also planned to work part-time at the Gushin Martial Arts School. Together with the more than 20,000 yuan he had left from before, it should be enough. Lu Jisheng smiled bitterly. Your dad has been a blockhead all his life. He only cares about his own things and doesn't care much about other things. After knowing that you were going to walk the path of martial arts, he wanted to do some research but found that he was useless. He didn't know anything. He could only watch TV and ask the young people in our factory. They all said that there is a threshold from professional 9th pin to professional 8th pin and it will cost a lot of money. I thought that since you called your mom to tell her that you got the professional 9th pin certificate, you should have reached this threshold, right? Lu Qing had noticed that his parents didn't ask him much about martial arts, so he thought that his family didn't oppose or support his practice of martial arts. Who would have thought that they had been quietly concerned about him, asking about him and preparing for him? That kind of love was silent without complaint or regret. Phew. He exhaled and forced a smile. Dad, Mom, don't worry. Didn't I get the prize money from the tournament? I will also work part-time in the martial arts school during the summer vacation. This should be enough for my expenses. If not, I will ask you for more. It was hard enough for his parents to pay for his tuition and living expenses. Keep that little money for yourself. Don't be too thrifty. You will be looked down upon by your roommates and classmates. Qifang interrupted. What do you mean by that little money? Lu Qing couldn't help but laugh. I still have more than 20,000 in my card. He only told his mom that there would be a bonus for the preliminaries but didn't specify how much. Qifang naturally thought that it was a small amount of 800 to 1,000. More than 20,000? Qifang opened her eyes wide and Lu Jisheng couldn't help but push his glasses. Damn, I accidentally exposed the amount of my private savings. Lu Qing quickly smiled and said, that's right. With your son's current ability, it's very easy for him to earn a few thousand yuan. You should save your money and strive for a bigger house. I can't sleep in the living room every time my cousin comes, right? Qifang laughed so hard that her eyes could not be seen. Look at what you're saying. This child is capable? Lu Jisheng took another sip of tea and heaved a long sigh. Your mom was right. You are indeed more capable than I was when I was young. Lu Qing smiled slightly. This is called the student surpassing the master. His words made the old couple laugh, and the topic changed from martial arts to the past. Chi Yunfei, while drying her medium-length hair, slipped into the room, turned on her tablet, and seriously watched the content that she had searched before she took a shower. Lu Cheng's fighting videos. After watching a video, she couldn't help but look back, as if she couldn't believe that the protagonist in the ring was in the living room. She couldn't believe that that was her own brother. In the living room, Lu Jisheng and Qi Fang knew that their son had to get up early every day to train, so they washed up and went back to their room after 10 o'clock. Lu Qing took out a change of boxers and planned to take a shower and sleep. He just walked 2 steps and remembered that he still had a little cousin at home. He turned back and opened his backpack, taking out the pajamas that Yan Zhika gave him. He couldn't run around in boxers in front of a 15 or 16-year-old girl, could he? He was old and still needed to know how to avoid suspicion. He could definitely didn't expect that the pajamas she gave him would come in handy at this time. While his thoughts were running wild, he suddenly heard his bedroom door open with a creak. Chi Yunfei stood by the door with a red face and shouted with a smile, "Brother Lu Cheng." "What?" Lu Cheng looked at her with a blank face. "Nothing, just calling you." Chi Yunfei closed the door with a bang, feeling very happy. "Haha, I have a super powerful brother." Chapter 225. Are you crazy? Lu Cheng was stunned. The corner of his mouth twitched and he couldn't help but laugh and curse. His head was full of fog. Is this the so-called generation gap? He felt that he couldn't understand what a little girl like Feifei was thinking. He shook his head and put the matter behind him. He went into the bathroom and finished washing up. Back in the living room, he turned off the light and lay on the sofa. He covered himself with a thin quilt and picked up his phone out of habit. He entered the chat mode with Yan Zhika and felt peaceful and happy, like the moonlight shining in through the window. Poor me, sleeping in the living room on my first day back home. Lu Cheng used the pitiful emoji that his girlfriend liked. One is marked by one's company. I'm rolling on the big bed that I haven't seen for a long time. Yan Zhika replied with a snickering emoji. Lu Cheng threw the table emoji and said, "You don't even comfort me." Okay, I'll give you a hug and let you sleep on the bed next time." Yan Zhika liked to call herself sister in front of Lu Cheng, although in fact she was almost a year younger. "Sleep on the bed? Do you have a sister with you?" Lu Cheng took advantage of the opportunity and teased her with a smirk. Yan Zhika sent a scolding emoji and said, "Bah, I won't sleep with a big pervert. And just now you provoked me with the picture of roasted eggplant. Isn't this to tempt you? To tempt you to eat with me one day?" Lu Cheng replied with a smile. Yan Zhika sent an emoji rubbing its chin and rolling its eyes and said, "What if I want to eat now? I'll go and roast one and send it to you?" Lu Cheng tried to suggest. "Forget it, Empress Dowager and my dad are both at home. Wouldn't you be sending a lamb to the tiger's mouth? Besides, it's already 10 o'clock, you should go to bed. You have to get up early tomorrow to train and enter the dance stage as soon as possible. This is the most important thing, understand?" Yan Zhika lay on the belly of the big hairy bear and couldn't stop smiling. "Understood. Rest assured, Coach Yan." Lu Cheng replied half jokingly and half seriously. Before he reached the peak of body refining, his brother-in-law had already entered the dance stage and got the certificate of professional 8th pin. Not to mention Peng Leiyun, the big devil, there was still a target in front of him to catch up with. Ching, speaking of morning training, I have a piece of good news and a piece of bad news. Which one do you want to hear first?" Yan Zhika sent him an emoji of sitting blankly. "Bad news? We can't train together tomorrow?" Lu Cheng asked sharply. Yan Zhika replied, "Yes, and not only tomorrow. Empress Dowager said that she has put weight on and wants to train. She wants me to train with her mother and daughter. We can train together." Not only that, but he also had to hold back his disappointment and comfort the girl. Empress Dowager is so busy. She won't be able to hold on for long. Besides, she and your dad have to go to work. You're not a child anymore. You can't be locked up at home. We have plenty of time to date. Ching, I thought you would be disappointed. Yan Zhika sat up straight and nodded. Ching, I thought you would be disappointed. Of course I am. I feel that the beautiful morning I have been looking forward to is not beautiful. But it can't be helped. She is your mother after all. Lu Cheng replied honestly. Then he added, "You should eat less breakfast tomorrow." Yan Zhika's dimples appeared and her eyes were gentle because of his previous words. She suddenly saw this strange sentence and asked, "Why?" "It's a secret." Lu Cheng would not tell her that he wanted to send her breakfast, the zongzi she had been dreaming about for a long time. "Secret? You want me to eat less breakfast, so you want to send me something to eat, right?" What kind of breakfast do I want to eat in Xioshan? Yenjika sent a "there is only one truth" emoji. Well, you want to send me that zongzi? Lu Qing replied, you are so smart. You guessed it so quickly. Where is the promised surprise? Hey, I am a famous detective. Yenjika, who was wearing a white nightgown, held her phone and rolled on the bed. Her mouth was slightly closed and her eyes were slightly curved. Her smile was very obvious. She only felt that this smart compliment made her so happy. It was even better than the surprise of sending a zongzi for breakfast. This was not only the reflection of the reasoning ability, but also the understanding and tacit understanding between the two parties. After laughing for more than 10 seconds, she said, but my dad is going to make breakfast for me tomorrow. I haven't tasted his cooking for almost a year. I have to go to my grandpa's house tomorrow night and accompany my grandpa the day after tomorrow. So I can only do it the day after tomorrow? As she spoke, she felt a little guilty and wanted to make up for it. Okay, then the day after tomorrow morning. Lu Qing exhaled. Sure enough, he could not be with Ku every day. Yenjika replied, I will come to see you when I am free. I can also go to see you. Lu Qing adjusted his mood and said with a snicker, by the way, what is the good news? Good news? Yenjika chuckled and leaned on the pillow. She rolled her eyes and a faint blush appeared on her cheeks. She bit her lower lip with her pearly white teeth and slowly typed on the keyboard on the screen. The good news is, Qing, I am starting to miss you. Lu Qing's heart was hit and became unusually soft. He smiled faintly and replied, I'm sorry. I miss our cuckoo too. At this moment, he only felt that the moonlight was peaceful and the night was gentle. Time flew by and it was already 10:30 p.m. Lu Qing said goodnight to Yenjika and posted the picture he had taken at the barbecue on Weibo, along with the caption, first meal back in Xioshan. He did not like to do these things. He only updated once every 10 days or half a month. After posting, he logged out of QQ and put his phone aside. He enjoyed the peace of the night and the affection shown by Yenjika just now and fell asleep contentedly. The next morning, he woke up naturally and quietly finished washing up. After changing into the navy blue martial arts suit, he unlocked his phone screen and logged into QQ again. He sent a message to Yenjika with a laughing emoji, the handsome one is up. The beautiful one is sitting on the bed. Yenjika replied with an emoji with circles in its eyes. After chatting for a while, Yenjika struggled to get out of bed. Lu Qing glanced at the replies he had received yesterday. Fatty Jiang was the first one. Qing, you are not at home on your first day back in Xioshan? Or are you not at home again? I am on the train today and will arrive in the evening. Remember to treat me to dinner. A man with a girlfriend must treat to a big meal. Lu Qing was about to reply to him and say something like, a fat man shouldn't think about a big meal. But he saw other replies from the corner of his eyes. Qing Chili replied with a shocked emoji, what? Qing, you have a girlfriend? Qin Rue replied with a shocked emoji, Qing, when did you have a girlfriend? Is she your college classmate? Chiu Hailin replied with a laughing emoji, I didn't expect you to solve the problem of being single in your first year in college. Chao Lele, who was sitting at the same table, replied with a smile, I didn't expect it either. This is not the Lu Qing I know. When will you show us what your girlfriend looks like? Damn brother Lu, a barking dog doesn't bite, right? I'm still single. Tao Xiaofei jeered behind them. Lu Qing was in a daze. There was only one thought echoing in his mind. Damn it, Fatty Jiang is such a big mouth. After a round of training, Lu Qing consolidated the realm of the peak of body refining. He recalled the conversation with his master before leaving school. The meaning of withdraw must be understood through the process of integrating the strength of the whole body into one. Otherwise, it will be a rootless tree without a source of water. This is why you can't practice it in advance until you reach the peak of body refining. Geezer sure said as he drank a mouthful of wine happily. Lu Qing was surprised and blurted out, Master, you use the words so well, so cultured. Geezer sure smiled proudly and said, that's what my master told me. Hey little brat, can't you grasp the key point? Don't think that the dance stage is easy just because you've mastered meditation and can look inward. After all, this is the first threshold on the road of martial arts. I won't say more. I'll just give you 10 words. Human body, Big Dan, round and bright. Next, you have to figure it out by yourself. If you can't figure it out, you can ask me again. That's it? Lu Qing felt like he had a fake master. What else do you want? Everyone has their own characteristics and personality. It's not good to rely on your master to pull you along, unless you plan to never surpass your master for the rest of your life. Besides, don't you want to mix in the things of cultivation? I can't teach you everything. From now on, you have to learn to figure it out by yourself. Geezer sure said seriously, anyway you can call me if you have any questions. But don't expect me to explain everything to you. Yes, master. Lu Qing nodded thoughtfully. A breeze blew. The morning at the end of June was not hot, but Lu Qing just did the same training as before. He didn't add anything new because he hadn't bought the herbs to make the decoction. He hadn't tried to unify the strength of his whole body. When he finished training and returned home, he had breakfast. Ignoring Qi Yunfei, who slept until noon, he took the decoction list from his master and went straight to the best pharmacy in the city, Jishan Hall. Outside Jishan Hall, Lu Qing was about to enter when he heard his phone ring. He took it out and saw that it was Qin Rui, so he chose to answer. Hello Qing. My master is very happy to hear that you want to work part-time. Qin Rui came straight to the point. He said there are 2 ways to work part-time and you can choose. Well, go ahead. Lu Qing said happily. Qin Rui considered his tone and said, the first way is to advertise under your name and let you be the head instructor of the martial arts school for 2 months. You won't be paid, but you'll get 30% of the total profit from the summer school. Qing, to tell you the truth, I'm shocked. I've never seen my master so generous before. You know, we usually have 20 summer school. After deducting the salary, utilities, equipment depreciation and venue wear and tear, the profit for 2 months is at least 1 million. More than 1 million? 30% means at least 300,000? It was the first time that Lu Qing had seen such a large amount of money. He was a little confused and moved. 300,000, this is 300,000. It's enough to buy a house in Xioshan, where the average price is 3,500 per square meter. Is there really such a good thing? Lu Qing resisted the urge to agree and steadied his breathing. What's the second way? The second way, we won't advertise under your name. You'll lead a VIP class, the kind that my master is nominally leading. The tuition fee for 2 months is 5,088. There are 10 people in total. Their tuition fees will all be yours. As for equipment and venue, it doesn't matter. If you see anything wrong with our training, just give us a few pointers. Qin Rui said dutifully, besides there's an individual coaching fee. You can earn it with your own ability. Whatever you can earn is yours. What's an individual coaching fee? Lu Qing asked, not quite understanding. Think about it. Not including the VIP class, the other classes are at least 30 to 50. How can one coach teach them all? He can only teach and watch them as a whole, supervise them to train and correct them from time to time. For some students this is not enough. They want to have a one-on-one coaching and correction. That way the effect will be much better. But this requires additional money. For people like me it's 300 per hour. Qin Rui said with a smile. As for you, we'll decide later. To be honest, I want to ask you to coach me for a few hours. Haha, you're free. Lu Qing replied with a smile. Qin Rui continued, this kind of coaching fee we have to share it with the martial arts school. You don't have to. The latter was obviously not as good as the former. After all, it was a small class of 10. One-on-one coaching was not very meaningful. Lu Qing was very tempted by the bonus, but he was very clear that it was a bit too much for a professional 9th pin fighter. If there's something abnormal, there must be something wrong. I can't be blinded by greed. I'd better ask my master. The older the ginger, the wiser. Thinking of this, Lu Qing smiled and said, Qin Rui, I'll think about it and give you an answer. Okay, I'll wait for your call. Qin Rui answered quickly. Chapter 226. Lu Qing took a deep breath and shook his head, trying to calm himself down in the face of the temptation of money. After a few seconds he found his master's phone number and dialed it. After a cheerful melody, Geezer Shur's coughing voice penetrated the receiver. Hey brat cough, you encountered a problem so soon? Master, no, it's not a problem with martial arts. It's something else. Lu Qing explained first. Then tell me what's the matter. Did you kill someone again? Geezer Shur asked casually. Well, in your eyes, am I a homicidal maniac? Lu Qing complained in his heart. He briefly explained his idea of making money by part-time jobs and the 2 choices of Gushin Martial Arts School. In the end he asked, Master, which one do you think I should choose? According to your heart, you want to choose the first one, right? With hundreds of thousands of you on there, how can a student like you not be tempted? Geezer Shur laughed. Lu Qing sighed and answered, I'm tempted, but I feel a little guilty and a little scared. I'm not worth that much money. A normal part-time job of professional ninth pin is only worth about 10,000 yuan a month. Even if it's a scarce resource in Xioshan, it's a bit exaggerated to double that amount, not to mention hundreds of thousands for 2 months. There's no such thing as a free lunch. The greater the profit, the greater the risk. At least you're sober. Geezer sure laughed. First, anyone with a discerning eye can see that your overall strength is considered to be in the small group in the body refining stage. Besides, you're still young and haven't practiced martial arts for a long time. You have a lot of potential, so you can't be treated as a normal ninth pin fighter. Of course, your salary and treatment will be different. Second, that martial arts school's first choice is called binding. In the martial arts circle, as long as you agree to let them use your signboard, you have to bear the corresponding responsibility. If you're the kind of person who doesn't want to admit it, it's okay to take hundreds of thousands of yuan. But you're not. You dared to fight to death for an old friend. What's more, you're soft-hearted when you take advantage of others. When they meet a strong martial arts school, will you help them? If they get into trouble and ask you for help, will you help them? Are you going to hold them accountable for using your name to bully others? Humans, especially those in the martial world, live for their reputation. It's not that you can't do this kind of thing. Famous martial artists more or less have a similar income. But you have to polish your eyes and see clearly the other party's background and character before you make a decision. Otherwise, you might be dragged into the water one day and still not know what's going on. Now ask yourself, are you willing to live and die with that dojo for a few 100,000? Of course, this is an exaggeration. Just understand what this old man means. Lu Qing asked himself silently. He thought for a while and said, I understand, master. I know what to choose. The bigger the shoulders, the bigger the burden. Okay, I'll remind you again. Earning money is important, but the focus should still be on practicing martial arts. Once you improve your strength, you'll have plenty of opportunities to earn big bucks in the future. Geezer sure reminded him and hung up the phone. Lu Qing calmed down for a few minutes. He didn't answer Qin Rui directly. Instead, he found Yanzhika's phone number and dialed her. Yanzhika sat at the table, drinking porridge cooked by her father and eating the refreshing dishes made at home. She chatted with Empress Dowager and others from time to time. She was very happy. At this moment, the phone beside her buzzed and vibrated continuously. She looked at it from the corner of her eyes and subconsciously smiled. Her eyebrows became more relaxed. She was a little happy but also a little nervous and worried. I need to answer a call, she explained in a sweet voice. She picked up the phone and walked quickly to the living room. She answered the call and walked up the stairs. Hello, what's the matter? Yanzhika tried to make her voice calm and rigid. Ji Mingyu looked at her daughter's back and sighed inwardly as she recalled her daughter's unconsciously gentle eyes and uncontrollable smile. Silly girl, who can you fool with this look? While thinking, she glanced at her husband who didn't realize it and couldn't help but spit. Only the rough men would be able to fool them. Humph, your little princess is about to be taken away, and you don't even realize it. Lu Qing sensed something wrong in Yanzhika's tone, so he smiled and said, Are your parents here? Yanzhika went upstairs like a whirlwind and entered her room. She leaned against the door and said with a smile, No, they are not here. That's good. I have something to ask Coach Yan. Lu Qing walked a few steps to the side so that he wouldn't block the door of Jishan Hall. Yanzhika's sweet dimples appeared. She said with a smile, Go ahead. I'll give you some advice. Judging from Cheng's tone, it shouldn't be a bad thing. Didn't I say that I wanted to work part-time in the martial arts club? I asked Qin Rui for help. His master welcomes me very much. Lu Qing told the whole thing to his girlfriend. Yanzhika listened attentively with a smile on her face. She liked Lu Qing's habit of discussing with her in advance. It made her feel a deep sense of participation and companionship. She also knew that Lu Qing was not a person without his own opinion. On the contrary, he was very decisive at critical moments and could be relied on. I think Coach Sure is right. Qing, you don't have to be so involved with the martial arts club in Xioshan. Yanzhika chose her words carefully. I heard from Uncle Xing and my mother that martial arts clubs in small places like Xioshan are more or less related to the underworld. It's easy for you to get involved with them. My father likes to read some ancient books. His favorite saying is that there are some things to do and some things not to do. Lu Qing originally wanted to find out the background of Gushin Martial Arts Club through Yanzhika. After hearing her words, he became more determined and no longer hesitated. Well, I'll listen to Coach Yan and choose the second option. My father-in-law seems to be very meaningful. Well, this is different from praising my master. Yenjika chuckled and was very satisfied. She asked, "Did you buy the herbs?" "In front of the pharmacy." Lu Qing laughed. "Which pharmacy?" Yenjika rolled her eyes and asked with a smile. "Jishan Pharmacy. It's said to be the best pharmacy in Xioshan. The ingredients are all authentic." Lu Qing was happy to chat with his girlfriend. Yenjika pursed her lips and smiled. "I can guarantee that. Don't you think it sounds familiar?" "Why does it sound familiar?" Lu Qing was confused. Yenjika snorted. "Have you forgotten? Empress Dowager's surname is Ji. I only know that Empress Dowager is called Empress Dowager." Lu Qing joked. "What a coincidence. I can't believe I'm in a pharmacy under Empress Dowager's name." Yenjika was afraid that Lu Qing would feel inferior, so she quickly explained, "My father is a poor doctor. When Empress Dowager came to Xioshan, she had nothing to do, so she worked part-time as a private trainer and tried to start a business. After a long time of hard work, the company grew up little by little. When I was young, I lived in the family compound. It was much more lively than it is now. I met uncles and aunties on the street and everyone wanted to pinch my face. Haha, it's like my neighborhood." Lu Qing had expected his girlfriend's family background. He didn't care about it now and smiled. "I thought you were sick when you were young. You didn't have any fat on your face." "I still have some baby fat," Yenjika answered shyly. She felt that her boyfriend didn't have any grudges and was still confident. When a couple in love started chatting, they could talk nonsense for a long time. When Ji Mingyu urged Yenjika to leave, she reluctantly said goodbye to Lu Qing. She spent the morning with her parents and the afternoon with her grandfather in Jingkai County, which was part of Xioshan. Lu Qing held the hot phone and called Qin Rui back without hesitation. "Qing, have you made up your mind?" Qin Rui asked happily. His classmate worked part-time in the martial arts club as a powerful professional ninth pin fighter, which made him look good in front of his seniors and juniors. "Yeah, I just called my master. He said that I haven't finished my apprenticeship yet, so I can't make my own name and carry my own signboard. You know, in the martial arts circle we have to respect our masters." Lu Qing pushed all the responsibility to his master. After saying this, he felt a little lost. 300,000 yuan. His dad worked hard for most of his life and didn't even save that much money. Forget it. In life there are things to do and things not to do. Got it. Qin Rui agreed. "So you chose the VIP class? I'll tell my master now." "Hey Qing, you're so strong but you still haven't finished your apprenticeship? Your master is so strict. You have to reach the dance stage to finish your apprenticeship?" Thinking back, one could imagine how awesome Lu Qing's master was. "Probably." Lu Qing answered blankly. He didn't know when he would finish his apprenticeship. Dance stage? High-rank dance stage? Or even physical invulnerability? After waiting for a few minutes, Qin Rui called back and said with a smile, "My master said no problem. When are you free today? Can you come over and finalize this matter?" "Okay, I'll come over in an hour." Lu Qing exhaled, relieved that the matter had been settled. He hung up the phone and entered the Jishan Hall. According to the weight of the 7 posts, he bought bags of herbs and spent more than 1,700 yuan. 1 week's worth of herbs will cost more than 1,700 yuan. In 2 months it'll be 15,000. Lu Qing did a rough calculation and was tongue-tied. He felt that the cost of breaking through to the dance stage was not small. And this was under the premise that he could train his whole body's strength to be as one in 2 months. No wonder Ku always asked him to save the money, because he wanted to keep the formula a secret. He didn't choose to ask the pharmacy to brew it for him. Carrying the bag, he went home first and then went straight to the Gushin Martial Arts School. When he arrived at his destination, he paid the taxi fare but didn't rush in. Instead, he tidied up his clothes and flicked the dust and hair. After today, he would go in and out as a coach. He had to pay attention to his image. Chapter 227. The Gushin Martial Arts School was located near the new business district of Xioshan. It had a quiet and elegant environment, and it had an old 3-story building. Lu Qing tidied up his appearance, walked through the trees and opened the door. He found Qin Rui waiting for him at the front desk. "You're early." He greeted him happily. Lu Qing patted his arm and joked, "I'm not familiar with Xioshan. I can't even estimate the time of the bus ride." Xioshan changes every half a year. Everywhere is being renovated." Qin Rui replied and led Lu Qing inside. After entering, Lu Qing found that the Gushin Martial Arts School was really big. The training ground on the first floor was several times bigger than the Hongluo martial arts school he had been to before. It was cleverly designed and divided into 7 or 8 areas. Some areas were noisy and crowded, while others only had 11 or 12 people practicing martial arts seriously. Noticing Lu Cheng's gaze, Qin Rui introduced with a smile, "Isn't it big? My master always says that this place is his proudest and most regrettable place." "Proudest and most regrettable place?" Lu Cheng asked. Qin Rui pointed at the training ground and said, "This used to be the workers' club of the 3-machine factory. It was sold during hard times and was bought by my master who was looking for a place to open a martial arts school. That was many years ago and there was no concept of housing prices. But my master spent most of his savings to buy the equipment. He really borrowed a lot of money. But now look at the surrounding housing prices. They have increased by more than 10 times. It's the most valuable and best asset of our martial arts school." "So that's what he's proud of?" Lu Cheng couldn't help laughing. He didn't think about it at all. Who would have thought that the proudest thing of a martial arts school was real estate investment? He asked curiously, "Then why is it the most regrettable place?" Qin Rui couldn't help but laugh. "At that time my master was still young and full of ambition. He wondered if he should leave Xioshan and open a martial arts club in Gaofun. Later, when he had the opportunity to buy such a big house, he gave it up. A professional 9th pin martial arts club could only make a splash in Gaofun. He would be suppressed by others even if he raised his head. It was better for him to stay in Xioshan and be a local tyrant. Now, thinking about the housing prices in Gaofun, my master talks about it every day and every month. Not to mention buying a house in Gaofun, a decent martial arts school is enough. Even the demolition alone is enough to make him not to worry for the rest of his life. Why is it always about the appreciation of the house? Is this something that a martial arts school should pay attention to?" Lu Cheng couldn't help but laugh. After turning a corner and walking a few steps, Qin Rui led him up the stairs and all the way to the 3rd floor. The lighting here was rather dim with long corridors and doors. Qin Rui didn't explain much. He looked a little nervous and solemn. He strode to the innermost part of the room and knocked on the door gently and rhythmically. Knock knock knock. Knock knock knock. After 2 knocks, a slightly hoarse voice came from the inside. "Come in." Qin Rui unlocked the door and pushed it in, allowing Lu Cheng to see the scene inside. The window was big and the sun was shining brightly. The table and chairs were carved from mahogany. Steam was rising from the tea set. Chu Wei-kai, with his deep wrinkles and sharp eyes, had already stood up and welcomed Lu Cheng with a chuckle. "Seeing you in person is better than hearing about you. Young friend, you are full of spirit and vigor. You really brighten my eyes. Qin Rui and Lin Feng have been praising you in front of this old man. I didn't believe them at first, but they showed me the videos of your recent matches. Wow, a young hero. Xioshan has never had a mighty one in the physical invulnerability stage in its history. Maybe you can make up for it." He spoke like an old-fashioned Jianghu man. Lu Cheng had originally thought that he could handle such situations calmly. However, after being praised by such an experienced Jianghu veteran, he suddenly felt a little helpless and did not know how to respond. He could only say modestly, "You're too kind." After exchanging a few pleasantries, Chu Wei let Lu Cheng sit in the guest seat. He poured himself a cup of kung fu tea and said with a smile, "Qin Rui has already conveyed your intentions. This old man can understand your master's mentality very well. If these unworthy disciples of mine go out, I will definitely warn them again and again to not let them use the signboard recklessly before they achieve anything." Qin Rui and Dai Linfeng didn't sit down. Instead, they stood on either side of Chu Wei-kai. It was obvious that the master-disciple relationship in Gushin Martial Arts School was more old-fashioned and solemn, unlike Lu Cheng, who often joked with Geezer Shi and sometimes even made fun of him. Of course, the main reason for this was that Geezer Shi himself was not serious. Without waiting for Lu Cheng to answer, Chu Wei-kai picked up the Yixing clay teapot and poured him a cup of fragrant tea. "Try it. This is the Mongolian wild mountain tea that I asked someone to bring back. It's not worse than Ningshui's Maojin green tea." The water was light yellow and moist. Lu Cheng took a sip and felt a strong bitterness. Following that, the taste buds on his tongue seemed to have come alive, throbbing with layers of sweetness. The aftertaste was endless. Good tea. He didn't know anything about tea, so he could only give a superficial compliment. Chu Wei-kai smiled reservedly and said, "There are now 3 VIP classes. I'm old, so I usually just look around and give a few pointers. Most of the time Lin Feng is in charge. There are 2 classes that come every holiday, and Lin Feng is more familiar with them. I'm afraid they won't be able to adapt to a sudden change of coach. I can only give the remaining class to you first, and then we'll recruit another one. This class is every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9 a.m. to 12 a.m. Are you okay with it? No. Lu Qing thought for a while and added, what if I have something to do at the last minute? Find someone to fill in for you or change classes. Chu Weikai waved his hand and asked Dai Lin Feng to take 4 sheets of white paper from the desk. I know it's your first time as a part-time coach. I was worried that you would be worried, so I specially asked Lin Feng to make a contract. Words are not proof, so it's just black and white. Look, the contract is very simple. They didn't ask a lawyer to make it. They made it so fancy that even an old man like me can't understand it. The 4 sheets of white paper meant that there were 2 copies of each one, but there were only 2 copies of the real contract. There were about 7 or 8 clauses, mainly stipulating a few things. First, the payment method. Before starting the part-time job, Lu Qing would be paid 10,000 yuan, 20,000 yuan at the end of July, and the rest would be paid on the day of the summer break. Second, there would be no commission for individual coaching fees. Third, Lu Qing would be responsible for any problems caused by physical punishment. Lu Qing looked carefully. After confirming that there was nothing ambiguous, he smiled and said, I have no problem with it. Okay, let's just sign it. Chu Weikai asked Dai Lin Feng to bring him a fountain pen and said self-deprecatingly, at my age, a fountain pen is more comfortable. I'm not used to you young people's signature pens and ballpoint pens. After a few swipes, the 2 finished signing and kept 1 copy each. Lu Qing wrote down his card number on another sheet of paper. Welcome to our martial arts club. When you become famous, we'll be proud of you too. Chu Weikai shook Lu Qing's hands and formally expressed his welcome. In the end, he reminded him, those kids are here to strengthen their bodies and learn some self-defense moves. Don't be too strict. Let them rest when they need to, in case something bad happens to them. Okay. Lu Qing agreed happily. He wasn't an inexperienced person. During the martial arts lessons, the special training members would often help the lazy geezer to teach them in groups. Most of the students who joined the martial arts club only wanted to strengthen their bodies and learn some self-defense moves. Come directly on Monday. Chu Weikai turned to look at his disciple. Qin Rui, show Lu Qing around and familiarize him with the place. Yes, master. Qin Rui exhaled and looked at ease. After the 2 left and the door closed, Dai Lin Feng frowned slightly and said, Master, there's no need to be so attentive. He obviously wants to keep a distance from us. Chu Weikai laughed and said, you're still too young. The most important thing for a person to succeed is to learn how to read people. You know who to keep a distance from, who to befriend, and who to befriend. So I only understood this after I turned 40. Otherwise, how could I be trapped in Xioshan? The 3rd floor is our lounge, locker room, office, and strength training gymnasium for inner disciples. The 2nd floor has 2 practice fields and 3 large strength training gymnasiums. When it's usually empty, we'll use a part of it as a gym. When summer classes start, we'll have to rotate according to time. But you don't have to worry about the VIP class. You can directly use the strength training gymnasium on the 3rd floor. The individual instruction is also there. Qin Rui introduced the layout and facilities of the martial arts club to Lu Qing. When the 2 passed by a practice field, they suddenly heard a surprised shout, Brother Lu Qing. Lu Qing looked over and found that it was his cousin's boyfriend, Ding Yanba. He was a long-term student and was walking and standing with 7 or 8 other people. Practice hard. Lu Qing smiled and encouraged him. Qin Rui put on a serious face and corrected the irregular movements of several students. This was the group he was in charge of. When the 2 were far away, a student asked Ding Yanba in a low voice, Ding Ding, who is that? Do you know him? He looks like he's very good at fighting. Although they didn't know that this was a sign of a certain level of body refining, they could still feel Lu Qing's fierceness and toughness. They felt that he didn't look weak at all when standing next to Qin Rui, who was more than 1.9 meters tall. Hey, it's me, it's my cousin. Ding Yanba was thick-skinned and pretended to be a relative. He's Brother Rui's classmate. Brother Rui specially invited him to teach the VIP class. Really? Several students were surprised. That was the VIP class that the master was in charge of. Of course, why would I lie to you? You'll know in a few days. Ding Yanba was so excited that his face turned red. I haven't told you that Brother Lu Qing is very likely to be the head coach of the martial arts club. This was what Qin Rui had mentioned when they were chatting. When the other students were about to ask, they saw Qin Rui stop and yell back, What are you talking about? Don't you want to eat? Suddenly, several students kept quiet out of fear and didn't dare to make a sound. Seeing this, Lu Qing found it funny and said, "You're very dignified." "Of course I am. These bastards dare to slack off when I smile at them. Qing, when you teach the VIP class on Monday, you should show them your power at the beginning. They'll be scared of you and then it'll be easier to control them later. Otherwise, kids at this age can turn the sky upside down." Qin Rui imparted his own experience. Lu Qing nodded thoughtfully and said, "Okay. How should I show them my power? This is a really troublesome question." While he was thinking, Qin Rui asked in a low voice, "Qing, are you going to participate in this youth tournament?" Chapter 228. Lu Qing was still thinking about how to show off his power. He wondered if he should bring a rock over and smash it with a single whip in front of those kids. However, he also felt that it would be too deliberate, too forced, too pretentious, and too ungraceful of a master. While thinking, he heard Qin Rui's question. He was stunned for a few seconds before he recovered. "I'm going to participate, but I don't know if I can register." The full name of the youth tournament was the Third Youth Champion Tournament of Xing Province. It was held once every 3 years. The registration requirement was to be a martial artist under the age of 26 from the province. Because of the saying, "If you can't achieve physical invulnerability by the age of 30, you'll never be able to achieve physical invulnerability." Lu Qing's age definitely met the requirements, but the problem was that his household registration had been moved to Songqing University, where he participated in the ranking event. It was still a question whether he could be considered a martial artist from the province. This made him a little uncertain. He considered asking his master for help if he really couldn't get in. "Anyway, the address on my ID card is still Xioshan City." Registration. Qin Rui was confused. He, who had never gone to college, couldn't imagine how Qing, who was born and raised in this place, wasn't a martial artist from his province. Until Lu Qing explained it to him, he suddenly understood. He laughed and said, "Don't worry, it's simple. If you can't register yourself, you can go through our martial arts club. Didn't you read the supplementary rules? Martial artists from the province, including those who work in the province, can register through their company or unit." "Then I'm relieved." Lu Qing was relieved and showed a sincere smile. This was the challenge tournament that he had carefully selected. It perfectly met the requirements of having a lot of money, being at the right level, and not having to travel too much. As for other competitions, there were some good ones. For example, the Battle of the Kings, which started in mid-August every year and ended in early April next year. Even if Lu Qing wanted to participate, he would still be beaten up badly. He didn't have the strength to get the prize money at all. The Youth Martial Artist Championship competition of Xing Province was jointly organized by the provincial government and the Provincial Martial Artist Association. At first, it was intended to be a benchmark to encourage young martial artists to work hard and change the image of a weak province. However, after the competition started, they found that the viewership ratings were quite good. After all, the fighting styles of physical invulnerability experts and high-ranked dance stage experts were very different from low-level fighting with bare hands and feet. Many of the audience liked to watch thunder and fire, but they also liked the feeling of blood boiling when fists hit flesh. Therefore, after the first batch there was a second batch and then a third batch. With the rise of live streaming, the broadcasting fees increased rapidly, and so did the prize money. This year, the plan announced was that the top 32 would be given a prize money circle. It was not a progressive system. The champion would get 600,000 yuan, the runner-up would get 350,000 yuan, the third and fourth would get 200,000 yuan, the remaining 4 in the top 8 would get 100,000 yuan, the remaining 8 in the top 16 would get 50,000 yuan each, and the remaining 16 would get 10,000 yuan each. Lu Qing didn't know much about the martial arts circle in this province, but according to the information obtained from the internet and Yanzhika, there were at most 7 or 8 dance stage fighters under the age of 26, and even fewer professional ninth pin fighters with supernatural abilities. As long as his luck wasn't too bad, he would be guaranteed to be in the top 32. He might even be able to compete for the top 16 or even the top 8. If he could gain a lot from this month's training, Lu Qing felt that he would have greater ambitions. Qin Rui laughed and said sincerely, "Actually, this is our martial arts club's advantage. Think about it, when the time comes, the commentator will definitely say that you are the coach of the VIP class of Gushan Martial Arts Club in Xioshan City. With your strength, you will definitely be in the top 32. Then our martial arts club's fame will spread beyond Xioshan to the whole province. Hehe, maybe you will even be on the Qing province young fighters roll call. Lu Qing had looked up the information about the youth tournament, so he naturally knew what the roll call was. It was a summary program of the youth tournament that Qing province satellite TV imitated the ancient customs. Only the top 16 fighters and outstanding fighters in certain aspects would be invited for an interview, and then they would be given a nickname they made up on their own. Most of the time, it would be very melodramatic, such as Little White Dragon, Ultimate Boxing King, and so on. Because he would always associate it with the Donglin roll call, Lu Qing didn't have the slightest interest in it. He laughed and said, "Will you also participate in the program?" "Yes, all the inner disciples will participate. This is what we told our parents when we signed up for the summer school. That's why the price is lower than last year's." Qin Rui took a breath and said with a longing look, "Although we definitely won't be in the top 32 and won't get the prize money, we can gain more practical experience. At the same time, we can figure out what level we are in among the young fighters in the province. Then we can find goals and motivation." "Well, this doesn't sound like something you would say." Lu Qing made a joke. Qin Rui smiled bitterly and said, "This is what my master has been nagging about recently. Qing, my master asked you to decide the fee for individual tutoring. How much do you plan to set?" "Why do you suddenly ask this? I don't know how much I should charge for my level." Lu Qing answered awkwardly. Besides, he could definitely teach a small class of 10. There was no need to go against his conscience and ask them for individual tutoring. Some money could be earned, but some couldn't. Senior brother Dai went to Gaofan a month ago to inquire about this. The fee for individual tutoring of a professional 9th pin fighter is 500 to 600 yuan per hour. You must be better than the average professional 9th pin fighter, so you should at least charge 800 yuan per hour. Qin Rui said with a smile, "Qing, do you think no one will ask you for individual tutoring? There are only 10 people in the VIP class. It's almost the same as individual tutoring." Lu Qing frowned and said his thoughts. Qin Rui smiled and said, "The ones who will ask you for individual tutoring are not the students in the VIP class, but us inner disciples and long-term students who want to become stronger." This kind of individual tutoring definitely did not involve the teaching of martial arts, so each person could solve many problems in 1 or 2 hours. There was no need to ask frequently. "I see." Lu Qing finally understood that he was a real, discerning person, so he smiled and said to Qin Rui, "Anyway, it's free. Those kids in the VIP class who only wanted to strengthen their bodies would never understand the value of a top professional 9th pin fighter. No, it's too embarrassing to ask for free. How can I face you in the future? Just give me a classmate discount." Qin Rui beamed and said, "I've booked 2 hours of individual tutoring next week. I have to prepare for the youth tournament." "Okay, a classmate discount of 30%. I'll call you when I'm free." Lu Qing could understand Qin Rui's mentality of not wanting to take advantage of others, because he was the same kind of person. In fact, he knew that Qin Rui didn't earn much. Since he was in his own teacher's martial arts club, the cost of practicing martial arts was borne by his teacher, so his corresponding salary was much lower than the normal standard of an amateur first pin fighter. It was said that his monthly salary before was 2,000 plus commission for individual tutoring. After he got the amateur first pin certificate, his salary increased by 1,000. Among the inner disciples, Dai Linfeng only had a basic salary of 3,500. Of course, in a place like Xioshan it was not bad. Qin Rui was in a good mood, so he asked casually, "You don't have to visit relatives during the summer vacation, so you should be quite free. Hehe, are you going on a date with your girlfriend?" Hehe. Lu Qing laughed and admitted it. Anyway, Qin Rui already knew that he had a girlfriend. It's all because of Fatty Zhang's big mouth. At this time the two of them walked back to the first floor. Instead of continuing the topic, they walked toward one of the summer classes. There were only 5 classes of summer students in the gymnasium at the same time. This was the limit. Any more and it would affect the long-term training of the students. As they walked, Qin Rui suddenly felt that something was wrong. Because he didn't think about what he had just asked. Cheng found his girlfriend when he was in college. How could he date during the summer vacation? I just asked casually and he admitted it? Is he going to send her thousands of miles away? Maybe she's from the same province. Maybe she's from Xioshan. The more he thought about it, the more he was interested in gossip. He planned to ask someone later to see if there was anyone else in Xioshan studying in Songqing. Su Rongfei, the inner disciple, looked helplessly at the summer class students who were all over the place in the horse stance. He put on a stern face and was about to lecture them when he suddenly saw Qin Rui walking over with a young man in a slim t-shirt. The more he looked at him, the more familiar he felt this young man was. Then he remembered what senior brother Dai had said before. Qin Rui's classmate Lu Qing was going to work part-time here. All of a sudden he seemed to have returned to the morning of the first day of the new year, to that bloody and terrifying scene. He saw the insufferably arrogant man in black training clothes softly fall to the ground, and he saw the young man who still had some remnants of youth standing upright. Yet now he had already shed his immaturity and was no longer a youth. He slowly walked in front of her. Su Rongfei subconsciously straightened his body and greeted him respectfully. "Brother Qing, just call me Lu Qing." Lu Qing said with a smile. "You call me Brother Lu better than Brother Qing. Don't you know the 2D world?" As he spoke, he glanced at the 30 boys and girls who were brimming with childishness. He felt their excitement for the first time. Practicing martial arts was still a barbaric thing for the kids. Before the hardships, it would be full of fun. After exchanging a few pleasantries, Lu Qing, Qin Rui, and Su Rongfei greeted each other and continued to walk around the training ground on the first floor. Looking at their backs, a girl asked curiously, "Coach Su, who is that? I didn't see him in the registration book before." The registration book would list the coaches in charge of each class. The strong ones would be described in detail, while the ordinary ones would be described in brief. The applicants were allowed to choose which class to join until they were full. Su Rongfei thought about Dai Linfeng's words and sighed. He's the new coach of the VIP class. Wow, the VIP class. The students in the class of 30 expressed their admiration and yearning. That's the martial arts class personally taught by the dojo master. That big brother who looked so strong just now was on the same level as the dojo master? After walking around the martial arts school, Qin Rui sent Lu Qing off. When they waved goodbye, they saw Chu Weikai leading Dai Linfeng out in a hurry. "Chairman Wei invited us over. Are you interested in joining us?" Chu Weikai stopped in front of Lu Qing and asked politely. "No thanks." Lu Qing declined the invitation. "Then we'll go first." Chu Weikai didn't waste time and went straight to the parking lot with Dai Linfeng. Qin Rui walked to Lu Qing's side and said with a smile, "It's probably about the preliminaries again." Lu Qing nodded. He had a rough idea of what was going on. Qin Rui continued, "Previously, a few teams from Xioshan were eliminated in the group stage. Chairman Wei has a rough idea of our standards. He plans to select 5 to 6 fighters from a few big martial arts schools and invite 1 or 2 locally born professional 9th pin fighters to undergo special training for half a year. It's said that not only will they be provided with funds, they will also be provided with internal training methods and a good coach. It's not like you don't have a chance if you work hard. After all, you're already of amateur first pin." Lu Qing saw the envy on Qin Rui's face and comforted him. "I'll try my best." Qin Rui took a deep breath and smiled. During this time, Chairman Wei has been inviting a few locally born professional 9th pin fighters to come back for a discussion. Today it's most likely because of this matter. In my opinion, the most suitable coach is here. Qing, with your strength, won't you be able to defeat them? Me? I don't have the time. Lu Qing shook his head. If everything went well, when the preliminaries were in full swing next year, he would be on his way to the National University Martial Arts competition. Chapter 229. After saying goodbye to Qin Rui and returning home, Lu Qing found the medicine jar and other things that he had bought online. He followed the instructions of the prescription step by step to complete the decoction. When everything was ready, Lu Qing, who had never done anything like this before, finally heaved a sigh of relief. He looked at his phone and noted down the current time. If he screwed up, it would be a waste of money. At this moment, Chi Yunfei, wearing a short-sleeved nightgown, walked to the kitchen door, rubbed her sleepy eyes and asked, "Brother Lu Qing, what are you doing? Are you sick?" "Doesn't look like it. Practicing martial arts medicinal soup." Lu Qing answered concisely. Oh. Chi Yunfei's face showed that although she didn't understand, she always felt that it was very awesome. Finally she swallowed and asked, "Brother Lu Qing, is there anything to eat? I'm starving." Lu Qing looked at her with annoyance and amusement. "You said you didn't sleep early or late. What's wrong with that? Wouldn't it be better to sleep for 1 more hour? Wait, it's already 11 o'clock. My mom will be back soon to cook." "Do I have to wait so long? I'm starving. Chi Yunfei pouted and said with grievance. Listening to her voice and feeling her tone, Lu Qing suddenly thought of the crying expression on her face. He laughed and said, Don't you have a lot of snacks? They can't fill my stomach. Humph, if your girlfriend is hungry, you definitely won't have such an attitude. Qi Yunfei pouted and said. Lu Cheng was stunned. Why do you say that? Qi Yunfei quickly turned from anger to joy and said with a smile, Yesterday when we were eating barbecue, your expression when you took the photo and sent the message was so gentle that I could pinch water out of it. I thought of a word, spoiling smile. Lu Cheng's mind suddenly showed the classic expression of Shiba Inu. His mouth twitched and said, Where did you learn this word? In a novel. Qi Yunfei answered firmly. Then she asked curiously, What would you do if your girlfriend was hungry? Lu Cheng thought for a moment and said with a smile, I'll treat her to my well-honed egg fried rice. If there's anything else she wants to eat, she can order it. If not, I'll hurry out and buy it for her. As for you? Well, there's a box at the corner of the table. There are a few boxes of instant noodles in it. His mother had a strange hobby. She liked to keep a box of instant noodles at home, but she didn't eat them herself. He didn't know why. You value a girl over a girl. Qi Yunfei looked as if she had suffered a blow. Isn't this too clear? Your girlfriend is treated so well and I'm only fit to eat instant noodles? Lu Cheng thought for a moment and answered seriously, Yes. Wasn't that obvious? Of course his girlfriend was more important than his sister. Qi Yunfei covered her face and left the kitchen. She walked to the table and said loudly after a few seconds, Braised beef noodles? I hate this the most. Brother Lu Cheng, don't you have any other flavors? No. Just put up with it. It's time to eat. Lu Cheng answered coldly. He took a photo of the medicine pot sitting on the fire with his mobile phone and sent it to Yenjika. He shared with her his first experience of decocting medicinal materials. When time passed and everything was done, he mixed the two decoctions together and filled a big bowl. He took a photo again and sent it to Yenjika with a snickering emoji. It's a black bowl. Will I be poisoned? Yenjika replied, Do you need mouth-to-mouth resuscitation? Hey, you've learned to flirt with me? No, I'm poisoned. Hurry up and give me mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Lu Cheng replied with a smile. Yenjika sent a proud emoji. I didn't say it was me. My dad used to take this as an elective. He's very good at it. Then forget it. Lu Cheng replied with an emoji of looking blankly at the sky. He was tricked by Yenjika again. Yenjika sent an emoji of laughing. Who told you to always think the wrong way? You big pervert. Actually, I've checked the information and asked people. As long as the prescription given by Coach Sure is correct, it doesn't matter if you make a little mistake. At most, the medicine will be a little less effective. Then I'm relieved. I'll drink a bowl and try it later. Lu Cheng took out another 2 bowls and divided the decoction into 2 portions. He would drink one portion later and the other portion tomorrow morning. His master had said that the decoction could be kept cold in the refrigerator. In the future, he would drink a bowl before morning training and another half an hour after breakfast. He didn't intend to reduce the intensity of his summer training. In addition to morning training, he also planned to have 2 hours of special training in the morning. He could also use the strength training gym of the martial arts school during his part-time work. Of course, this was summer. He could change the schedule if he wanted to, but the total amount would remain the same. At around 1 o'clock, Lu Cheng watched Qi Yunfei sneak out of the house with the excuse of going shopping with her friends. He changed into his martial arts suit again and gulped down the bitter decoction. He didn't find a shady place in the community to do his special training. That way he wouldn't need to wait until tomorrow. At night, everyone in the community would know that Lu Jisheng was addicted to martial arts and didn't do his job properly. Under the scorching sun of early July, Lu Cheng walked on the steaming hot ground and jogged to the nearest park at noon when there were few people on the road. He wanted to let the decoction dissolve little by little. When he arrived at the park, he felt a little warm in his stomach. So he used the power of frost to get rid of the high temperature on the surface of his body and to stop the flow of sweat. He found a shady place, took a posture and began to practice the thunder roar Zen. Every move was slow and dull, but it could stir up the wind. At the same time, the thunder in his stomach continued. His muscles compressed and relaxed and vibrated continuously. Along with the effect of the decoction, he refined his strength into the smallest part of his body. After a few punches and kicks, he, who was half in meditation, was keenly aware that there was a trace of heat flowing into every part of his body. With the vibration of the thunder roar, it slowly forced out the impurities and condensed the purity. Bam! Bam! The airflow kept exploding. Lu Cheng's punches were slower and heavier than the one before. There was no need for special effects, but it was enough to frighten the audience. After an unknown amount of time, he withdrew his posture and exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. He had reached the limit of his current tempering. Although there were no signs or understanding of withdrawing, he felt that the strength in his body was slowly and subtly changing. With his own polishing, they gradually developed a feeling called penetrating. Penetrating. Lu Qing pondered over the words that could best describe the signs just now. Once again he used the cold current to get rid of the heat. Well, other things aside, the power of frost is still very useful in this regard. I, Lu Qing, am a walking air conditioner. While his thoughts were running wild, he suddenly heard the phone in his pocket ring. He took it out and saw that it was a call from Director Xing Qinggu. Hello, Uncle Xing? Lu Qing vaguely guessed what was going on. Director Xing laughed and said, Are you on vacation? Have you returned to Xioshan? I just arrived yesterday. Lu Qing answered honestly. I knew that Ku had returned home, so I thought you should have already arrived. If you're free, please come over. I didn't treat you to a meal last time. Director Xing made small talk. Sure. Lu Qing replied politely. Director Xing sighed and said with a smile, Don't be shy. Don't think that you're trying to curry favor with an official. You can't cross the moral threshold in your heart. I've been paying attention to your matches for the past few months. I really feel that you have a bright future ahead of you. Sai, it's impossible for me not to grow old in this lifetime. I have to think about the future of my children and family. It's a good thing for me to get to know a young talent like you, a very good thing. Hee, don't you feel better now that you think about it? Lu Qing's thoughts, which were difficult for him to detect and accurately describe, were directly exposed. For a moment he blushed with shame. I don't have such thoughts. I sincerely treat you as an uncle. Uncle Xing's style of speaking was really like his personality, straightforward and direct. That's good. Back to business. Wang Su's case will be heard next Friday afternoon. As a secret witness you have to attend. Don't worry, there won't be any outsiders. I guarantee your safety. Be prepared and dress decently. Don't be like a boor like me who was always laughed at because of my clothes. Director Xing said heartily. After the frank and honest words, Lu Qing also felt relieved. He smiled and said, Okay. Was Wang Su's case finally coming to an end? After today's training, Qin Rue returned home and lay on his bed. Thinking of what happened before, he logged into QQ and found the well-informed person in his mind. Fatty Jiang, are you there? Can I ask you something? Jiang Fei had just woken up on the train and replied in boredom, What's the matter? Qin Rue was not a beauty. He did not need a good attitude. Do you know who in our grade got into Songqing? Qin Rue asked. Why do you ask this? Jiang Fei answered blankly, I only know 4. Qing Yanzhika Gu Chao from class 7, Li Liang from class 8, and there may be others. Gu Chao from class 7, Li Liang from class 8. Qin Rue tried hard to recall these two classmates, but he really did not know them. He could only ask again, which school are Gu Chao and Li Liang in? Are they both boys? Isn't that obvious? Gu Chao is in Songqing Technology and Li Liang is in Songbei Normal University. Jiang Fei only felt that Qin Rue's question was ridiculous. 2 boys, only Yanzhika was a girl. Qin Rue suddenly gasped. No way, but Fatty Jiang's information was not detailed enough, so it could not be accurate. Do you know who else in Xioshan got into Songqing? He asked cautiously. Jiang Fei replied in a bad mood, How would I know about other schools? Qin Rue thought for a while and decided to change the topic. You said Qing has a girlfriend. Do you know who she is? Are you stupid? I have never seen her or know her. How would I know? Jiang Fei said with an angry smile, I'll ask Qing face to face tomorrow. This bastard actually left the single life without a word. I see. Qin Rue was not sure, but he suddenly had some guesses and associations. He asked to confirm, there are only 2 girls in Songqing University, right? Should be. Who doesn't show off when they get into this kind of university? I remember it's only Cheng and Yanzhika. Jiang Fei answered without thinking. Only Cheng and Yanzhika in Songqing University? Qin Rue gasped again. It can't be. In her own bedroom in her grandfather's house, Yanzhika was holding her phone and rolling around. Then she took out the ring on her necklace and sighed faintly. I haven't seen Qing for a day. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.